Whoa, hey everybody, how you doing? I'm going to fix the overlay here real quick for you, so I'm not all freaky out here. Let me see here real quick. All right. Do, 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 do. All right, should be a little bit better there. Sorry guys, didn't mean to freak you all out there. So hey everybody, how's it going? Hey Tony, hey Matt, hey American, how you doing? Hey Jay Alpha and Shonda's Graphic and America Shield Information Man. Good seeing you guys in the chat room. And I have to wake up an hour. I just want to say hi and good night. Oh, hey, good night. Totally understand. But yeah, man. Hey, as I make America great, people working. So good deal. And let's see, get this thing off here. Okay. And just bring us up a little bit. There we go. All right. So as you see there, I got a tale of two economies listed there on the screen. It's from the Wall Street Journal opinion page, and it does a side by side on the first 2.5 years of President Trump's economy compared to the second term of President Obama's economy. So we're going to get to that. Got other stories to cover as well. But I thought this was interesting. Just some side by side comparisons. Just some stats as far as in different states as well. So I found it rather interesting. So let's go and take a look at it. And we have the live call-in show tonight, 775-273-8970. And of course, if you want to appear by VMix video call, just send me an email to the email address up there, ca2jogger@gmail.com. And I'll shoot you out a link. Hit said link, and I'll bring you on in. I'll take care of the rest on this end. All right, so let's take a look at this story real quick here. I'll go ahead and punch this up a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Okay, here we go. And probably need to bring me down a little bit. Let's see. Cover it up so much here. There we go. That was a little better. All right, so let's take a look at the story here. Okay, judging from last week's debate, Democrats running for presidency, America is Dickensian nightmare of inequality, basically Scrooge and all that kind of shit. And it's the best of times. It's for millionaires and billionaires, and the worst times for everybody else. That's what the Democrats have to say. And so this opinion writer goes on to say, time to wake up from the Barack Obama economy, folks. Admit how many more Americans are prospering from the faster economic growth and tighter labor market after the policy changes of 2017. Who is the economy really working for? He asked. It's doing great for a thinner and thinner slice at the top, according to Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, when she declared at the debate. When you've got an economy that does great for those with money and it isn't doing great for everyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple. Cory Booker, also from the high tax state New Jersey, also said, I live in a low income black and brown community. I see every single day that this economy is not working for the average Americans. Kamala Harris joined in. You asked the president, how are you measuring the greatness of this economy of yours? And they point to the jobless numbers. Yeah, that's generally a good place to point to. Look to see how many people are actually working. That's not a bad economic indicator, other than your feelings. Faster growth, rising incomes. That's what's going on right now. Compound annual per capita income in selected states in the first 9 quarters of the Trump administration and the second term of the Obama administration. If you see the line at the top, that's under President Obama in his second term, and that's economic growth, compound annual per capita income growth in these following selected states. The top line, that's President Obama. Bottom line in each state is President Trump. And as you see there, Florida, Trump's blown him away. Indiana blew him away. Iowa really blew him away. Michigan, Obama did a little bit better. The U.S. overall, Trump's doing much better. Ohio, Trump's doing much better. Pennsylvania doing much better. Wisconsin doing much better. Nevada, where I live, and I can definitely attest to this, doing much better. And these are battleground states that we're talking about here. So when you look at the battleground states, as far as what people are actually seeing on the ground, forgetting what the candidates are saying on stage and what the mainstream media is trying to tell you, if you live in one of these states, you feel it, you see it, you see your neighbors doing well, you know your family's doing well, you're doing well. That's hard. I don't care how much they try to, brainwash you. If you're living there on the ground, things are getting better for you and for your neighbors. Hey, the great dirtbag, how you doing there? Good seeing you there. The best of economies and the worst economies. Hated that darn book in school. It was the best of worlds, the worst. Yeah. Nah, I hear you. Hey, Rocky, how you doing? And then, and then this writer goes on to say a rising tide lifts more boats. And then he goes on to give you the comparison on average hourly earnings growth on a monthly basis during the first 29 months of the Trump administration compared to the second term of the Obama administration. Again, Obama's numbers are on top. The graph is on top. Trump's graph, his line is on the bottom on each sector. So this is average hourly earnings growth on a monthly basis. This is for the worker down right at the bottom or right in the middle, right with the rest of us. So mining, of course, you see the growth rate on the bottom line going, at 4 times higher right there. Construction also much higher. Manufacturing higher. Private services higher. Retail higher. Transportation, warehousing higher. Leisure and hospitality higher. So job numbers and other economic evidence are fake news. No, this writer goes on to say hardly. The reality is that wages are rising at the fastest rate in a decade for lower skilled workers, and unemployment among less educated Americans and minorities is near a record low. Democrats want Americans to believe the fiction they spin rather than what they see with their own eyes. The old saying, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? That kind of thing. The press this week has noted that the economic expansion reached its 10th anniversary, the longest on record, but the accounts ignored that the last 2 years have been far different than the first 8 in the economic policies and results. We're long enough into the Trump era to track the differences. Start with Mr. Booker's claim that minorities are being left behind. Really? Well, here you go. The jobless rate for blacks is 6.2%, which is only 2.9 percentage points higher than for whites, versus a 4.6 percentage point difference before the start of the 2008 recession. Unemployment has fallen by twice as much among blacks as whites since December of 2016, right after President Trump was elected. Nearly 1 million more blacks and 2 million more Hispanics are employed than when Barack Obama left office. And minorities account for more than I want you to think about that, minorities account for more than half of all new jobs created during the Trump presidency. Unemployment among black women has hovered near 5% for the last 6 months, the lowest on record since 1972, and a mere 3.5% of high school graduates are unemployed. Only 3.5% of high school graduates are unemployed. But what about Senator Harris's assertion that folks are stringing together jobs to make ends meet? How about 5% of Americans hold about 5% of Americans hold more than one job? And this rate has held relatively constant since 2010. Yet there are now 1.3 million fewer Americans working part-time for economic reasons than at the end of the Obama presidency. A tighter job market is also pushing up wages for the average Corey or Kamala. Average hourly earnings for production-level manufacturing workers have grown at an annual rate of 2.8% during the Trump presidency, compared to 1.9% during Barack Obama's second term. And I'm glad the Wall Street Journal compared it to the second term, because the first term that would be unfair, because the first term, was right in the middle of the recession. He came into it. You can't blame him for that recession. You can blame the Democrats. You can blame George W. Bush. We really can't blame him. So we really don't want to compare it to the first term. But it's okay. Let's take a look at the second term. He was in office for 4 years. Okay, his policy should have been taken effect, and that was his economy. The second term, from 2013 to the beginning of 2017, that was his economy, right up until the election date. Then it wasn't. Okay, after the election, I saw it change myself. November and December of 2016 were far different than November, December of 2015. I can show you the numbers to back it up. Just in my own office. Okay. Where we go. So I'm glad he compares to the second term, because there's no excuses, for President Obama on the second term. That was his economy at that point. Production level manufacturing wages have accelerated even faster in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Indiana. While parts of Appalachia continue to struggle from a decline in coal mining, shale gas drilling has created thousands of new jobs, including downstream jobs like in pipeline construction, in other words, to carry the natural gas, and petrochemical production, all of which Democrats want to kill, which is, they want to kill these jobs. Private worker wage growth, try saying that fast, private worker wage growth in West Virginia, Jesus, has averaged 5.1% annually during the Trump presidency versus 1.2% in the second Obama term. Mining and manufacturing have especially benefited from the Trump administration's deregulation, but wages have been growing faster for production line workers across industries. Productivity growth spurred by capital investment and tax reform increased markedly last year, which should lift wages over time even if job growth weakens. Democrats are trying to woo folks in swing states who have been harmed by President Trump's trade rules, but per capita incomes have grown at significantly faster rates under President Trump than they did under Barack Obama in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Nevada, Wisconsin, and even Iowa. Even Iowa, despite the retaliatory tariffs on American exports by the Chinese. The disparity between middle America and coastal bastions of affluence has also shrunk. Incomes in Maryland, Massachusetts, and Hawaii grew faster than the national average during the second Obama term, but have since tracked lower. So during Obama's second term, the rich actually did get richer. While New York State has become wealthier, its finance income over the last 2 years has declined. And here's the great paradox of the Barack Obama economy. The Federal Reserve's bond purchases and near zero interest rates for 8 years drove up asset values and let corporations borrow cheaply, while the administration's punishing regulations bred business uncertainty that depressed investment in human and physical capital. Those with financial assets prospered more than financial assets, meaning like, bonds, brokerage, those kind of things. Those with financial assets prospered more than middle class wage earners. The Obama Democrats talk constantly about inequality rather than growth, and the result was less growth and more inequality. The Trump administration has, for the most part, focused on growth. So, in other words, what you see here when you go side by side for the second term of President Obama's administration and the first 29 months of President Trump's administration, it's not even close. It's not even close. So hey, you see who is out there. So let's see. Now he shows there's no guarantees the growth will continue, but hey, with the numbers the way they are, it's a strong economy. It's sustainable. So let's take a look, and then Dow Industrial closed at a. Yep, let's see. Here we go. Dow Industrials closed at record high. 30 stock index notches its highest close ever and its first recorded since October. The Dow Jones, this is again from the Wall Street Journal, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at a record on Wednesday, its first new high in 9 months, as the index notched its fourth straight session of gains. Dow Industrials climbed more than 170 points during a shortened trading session ahead of Thursday's Independence Day holiday, putting it above its previous October milestone. The Dow was the last of the three major indexes to notch a record this year, as trade tensions, concerns of a slowing economic growth, and problems among individual companies such as Boeing and 3M weighed on its performance in recent months. Last weekend's trade truce spurred the latest leg of the Dow's recovery. Right, the trade truce between President Trump, President Xi, United States, and China, reached a pact that eased investors' fears of an all-out trade war between the world's two biggest economies. Let's see. But the ceasefire only put additional tariffs on hold indefinitely, leaving investors concerned that lingering frictions could give way to another flare-up in trade tensions and market volatility. So eyes are now turned on the Federal Reserve and whether it will cut interest rates this year, a move that would support further stock gains, analysts say. So basically, it looks like the Fed, they were talking about cutting either in June or July. They decided not to cut in June, but everybody's thinking, everybody's gambling, everybody's betting on the fact, based on the language they've been using, that they're probably going to cut interest rates down here in July, at the end of July, and that's only going to be good. Let's see, where are we going next? And let's see. So here's here's a story from the Washington Examiner talking about the military hardware you can expect to see in Trump's salute to America. Yay! I wish I could be there. I really do. It's just, with it on Thursday, work today, got to work on Friday. And so, flying out to D.C. and flying back could be kind of a bridge too far. So, but to anybody who's going, I hope you guys have a great time out there. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Any kind of time Trump's going to be somewhere, he just specializes in fun. He just knows how to have a good time. He knows how to create a good experience for everybody around him. Even if you just go to a Trump rally where you don't have the fireworks, where you don't have the planes flying overhead, where you don't have the tanks, rolling down the street. Even without all that, if you go to a Trump rally, anybody will tell you who's ever been to one. I've been to two of them. They're just a lot of fun. The people that show up are really cool. Everybody's there to have a good time. Everybody's, pretty much on the same page, and it's just good to see a lot of different people out there, all kind of, just really happy, to be Americans, and just really happy the economy's doing good. We're not chasing out. Other presidents would have got us into at least two wars by now. He's trying to get us out of them. The Pentagon and the deep state's fighting him, trying to get us out of Syria. He's trying to get us out of Afghanistan. They wanted him to get to a war with Iran. He was able to pull back on that. A lesser president probably would have pulled the trigger, and who knows what would have happened after that. Same thing with North Korea. A lesser president probably would have pulled the trigger by now, and he's been trying to make peace. There's a story here. Hey, Bruce, how you doing, everybody? But yeah, and we'll get to what the deep state's trying to do to with the Kim meeting. I'll get to that story here in a couple of minutes. I want to go ahead and cover this one though from the Washington Examiner. Let me grab a cigarette real quick. All right, so here's all the military hardware you can expect to see in Trump's salute to America. Let's take a look. There's is that a Bradley fighting vehicle? What is that? Let's see. It doesn't say. I'm assuming, I don't know, it looks like a Bradley fighting vehicle. If anybody knows that it's not, then say, hey, man, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not a Bradley fighting vehicle. But I think it is, but it looks pretty cool, sitting there parked on the side of the road. President Trump's, there we go. Let me see. All right. President Trump's 4th of July salute to America will feature an amped-up fireworks show, a wide range of military hardware, and a speech from the Commander-in-Chief himself. The event will be held on the National Mall. The event to be held on the National Mall has sparked a debate between those who see it as an inappropriate militarization of a national holiday and those who believe it is an opportunity to promote patriotism. I believe it's an opportunity to promote patriotism. Whatever side viewers fall on, here are some of the military vehicles they can expect to see. The M1 Abrams tank. Yay! The inclusion of two M1 Abrams battle tanks in the event has been the focal point of this debate. Critics say showcasing tanks is something you'd be more likely to see in a banana republic than a democratic nation. Yeah, like France. France is a banana republic. They put on a great military parade every single year on Bastille Day. And then also, they do something for liberation the day Paris was liberated, also in World War II. They do a big thing for that also. So supporters who think the criticism and overreaction say the tanks could bolster the Army. The Abrams has been the backbone of the Army's Armor Corps for nearly 4 decades, and it's the service's only main battle tank in use. It weighs approximately 62 tons, features a 120 millimeter smoothbore gun, a 50 caliber heavy machine gun, and two M240 machine guns. It can travel up to 45 miles per hour on roads. Newer models are slightly heavier and feature depleted uranium armor. The two tanks will be on stationary display during the event due to concerns they could damage city streets. Okay. M2 Bradley fighting vehicle. At least 2 Bradley fighting vehicles will reportedly be featured on the 4th, occasionally mistaken for tanks themselves. Bradley's weigh just under 28 tons and have smaller 25 millimeter M242 Bushmaster gun, a Tau anti-tank missile. I think it's the one that shoots like with a cable behind it, and a single M240 machine gun. They've been in service since 1981, involved in several major conflicts, including in Iraq and Afghanistan. B-2 stealth bomber. I was at the Rose Parade one year in Pasadena, and one of those flew over right before the parade started. And let me tell you, that was really cool. I mean, the Rose Parade doesn't necessarily bring a lot of conservatives out. It's a Rose Bowl Parade in Pasadena, and it's a mismatch of all kinds of different people that go there. And again, it's not generally all conservatives. It's a lot of liberals are at the Rose Bowl Parade. People spend the night there. We spent the night there. It was really cool. And kind of camped out, and then got up early. The weather's always, for some reason, the weather can be miserable like the whole week, and for some reason, God always shines nicely down on the Rose Bowl parade. It was raining like hell the day before, the night before. It was supposed to rain, and then the sun came out, and it was just bright and sunny. And anyway, this B2 came across. I think it was right about 7 a.m. right before the parade started, maybe 8. And man, it was something. It came in really low too, and the whole crowd. I don't care, the biggest liberals in the world were like, whoa! It was definitely something to see. So that's cool. They're going to have a B-2 stealth bomber flying overhead. Okay, so first introduced in 1997, the B-2 stealth bomber was one of the most secretive government programs in U.S. history. It is easily recognizable due to its distinctive V shape and dark interior. The B-2 is practically impervious to any enemy radar, giving U.S. forces a distinct advantage against adversaries. Its bomb bay can hold 40,000 pounds of ordnance. The F-35, this is a great plane, F-35 strike fighter. Depending who you ask, the F-35 is either the most capable fighter in the U.S. fleet or a giant waste of money. A lot of the pilots who fly it think it's fantastic. The entire program is expected to cost 1.5 trillion during its 55-year lifespan, making it the most expensive weapon ever. The F-35 is extremely stealthy and features state-of-the-art electronics package that literally allows a pilot to see through it. The Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy all have their own. Plus, it has that it can turn on a dime pretty much because it's got all that great stuff on its exhaust. The F-22 Raptor, F-22 fighter plane was introduced to the Air Force fleet in '05. Like the F-35, was designed to be stealthy. Unlike the F-35, it was designed with one purpose in mind: shooting down enemy aircraft, a task of which it seems pretty good. The F-22 is armed with a 20 millimeter cannon and can be outfitted with 6 AIM-120 missiles and 2 AIM-9 Sidewinders for air superiority missions, or 2 AIM-120s, 2 Sidewinders, and 2 1,000-pound bombs, or 8 250-pound bombs for air-to-ground missions. Aircraft saw its first combat in Syria in 2014 when they were used to drop 1,000-pound smart bombs in the opening of Operation Inherent Resolve, the U.S.-led campaign against the Islamic State. The new Marine One, the newest version of the president's helicopter, will make its first public appearance at Salute to America, known as the VH-92. The latest Marine One is being produced by Lockheed Martin. Air Force One, the president's iconic personal aircraft, will appear at the event. Technically, any aircraft that the president is traveling on is referred to as Air Force One, but a modified Boeing 747 is commonly associated with the term, which differentiates Air Force One from a typical 747 is a closely guarded secret. FA-18 Hornet, the Navy's famous Blue Angel demonstration team, will exhibit their aerial prowess on the 4th. Angels currently fly FA-18 Hornets, the Navy's premier fighter and attack aircraft, introduced in 1984. Wow, so that's going to be kind of cool. And they got the Blue Angels flying over there, so that'll be kind of fun to watch. And then let's get to the, let's see, where was it? Yeah, this story I read really pissed me off because at first I'm reading it like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. And then I realized, oh, the deep state, the guys who want Trump to go to war with North Korea, and it's State Department kind of stuff because it goes through the United Nations. So I'm thinking Mike Pompeo, Mr. Bolton trying to sabotage. Now, the same thing happened to Eisenhower. And obviously, I wasn't born yet, so I kind of had to read about it. Same thing happened to Eisenhower. He was getting ready to meet with Khrushchev for talking about disarmament talks, talking about trying to reduce the number of nuclear bombs, nuclear missiles, all that kind of stuff. And they were getting ready to have this big summit meeting, right? And then guess what happens? Gary Powers gets shot down in a what was that plane called? The damn spy plane. Damn it! Oh, Gary Powers shot down. What plane was that? That was the. Let me see real quick. Can't remember now. Oh, that is. What is it doing? Well, I was trying to get to Google, but anyway, if anybody knows what the plane is called that he was shot down in Gary Powers' biplane. But anyway, they were just getting ready to meet, and then next thing suddenly the Russians shoot down, Gary Powers' biplane. So a lot of people think that the U.S. military got together with the Russian military. Both militaries not interested in wanting our countries to be at peace, and kind of let them know, yeah, we're gonna be flying a plane over there, and maybe you might want to shoot it down, knowing that would cause huge friction between Russia and the United States, and it did. Powers was subsequently captured after he failed to blow up his plane, and was put on trial. It was a big show trial, and of course they just made a movie about it recently with Tom Hanks. He was an attorney, and he was like the negotiator negotiating Powers' return, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does anyone want to call in before the great and wonderful, not to mention why his douchebag calls? You sound like the Wizard of Oz down there, the great dirtbag. The great and all-powerful Oz. There's nothing to see. Don't turn that curtain. Don't open that curtain. Ignore the man behind the curtain. I can call for a short call. All right. Well, hey guys, whoever wants to call in if you want me to, DB. And let's see. But yeah, whoever wants to call in is fine with me. No problem. Thank you, Matt. Matt, thank you so much. You too. I was going insane sitting here because I hate when you get older. Yeah, and I hate when you get older, then you like forget things. Like I don't mean like you forget things you knew like a long time ago. Like you just your memory just kind of drops off. It's like nothing good to be said about getting older. Well, but I can't find my phone. Oh no, Effie can't find her phone. Hey Rocky, how you doing? Yeah, you too. Yeah, Matt just put it up there. Yeah, I couldn't remember that, but yeah, and I just did see that movie with Tom Hanks. Actually, that wasn't a bad movie. I mean, Tom Hanks's politics are totally shit. All wrong completely. But he's not a bad actor. So you watch a movie with him, and plus, for him when he goes into a movie, the production quality is going to be really good because he's not going to show up in a movie where you got bad production qualities. You have good production quality, good directing, good co-stars, and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to watch, generally a good movie, you got to go with the high-powered actors, and most of them are, when it comes to their politics, are kind of lunatics, unfortunately. Yeah. But hey, and if you didn't notice, I got my Betsy Ross flag sitting behind me. I had it up there before I went live, and it's actually what's sitting behind me right now. And in fact, let's give you guys a little bit better picture of it here. All right, let's see here. Yep, there's the Betsy Ross flag behind me there. And got that from Amazon. Thank you, Jeff Bezos. And Amazon was really cool. They had made in America flags. Not just stuff you get from China or Dominican Republic or whatever. They had actually made in America flags, and if you were a Prime member, you could actually. They had it on the Prime list, so you can actually get free 2-day shipping. I ordered it late Tuesday night, right before midnight. If you get it in before midnight, you can get it within 2 days, and it came today, and just hung it up this afternoon. In fact, here, so yeah, I got the Betsy Ross flag. That whole controversy there. It's just really stupid. I mean, President Obama on his inauguration in 2013 for his second term had 5 American flags behind him. 3 in the middle, and then the two like 200-foot flags on the ends of those 5 flags were both Betsy Ross flags. So obviously, they chose those flags on purpose. It wasn't like somebody said, "Oh, what do you think? I'll just throw a flag up there." No, I mean when they're putting a production like that together, an inauguration where it's all the bells and whistles, people are deciding which flags can go up there. President Obama was a constitutional professor. He taught constitutional law at the University of Chicago. He knows the history of Betsy Ross. He knows the history of the flag. It was a demonstration of unity against a tyrant, a monarch in England. That's what the flags, the stars in the circles, or represent unity. Namely, that no one star is larger than the others, on top of the others, all in a circle. The 13 stripes. All of that. So so I guess they could claim President Obama. Well, I mean, if President Obama talked about his immigration policies, I said this last night. He'd be booed off the stage. He said, "Yeah, let's deport them all." He'd be like, "Boo, you suck, Obama." It's like that'd be Democrats yelling at him. We'd all be like, "Yeah, that sounds good. Do that." but, but you know, he could. In fact, Omar, I got a story up on that. Ilhan Omar, of all people, said that actually Trump's policies are more like President Obama's policies when it comes to immigration. Even she came out and said it. Like, well, he's actually just kind of doing all President Obama's policies, meaning that, well, he's not. President Trump isn't crazy. It's just, he's doing the same thing President Obama was doing. So when she said that, I'm sure a lot of people on the left were like, "Eh." Omar said, "What?" Omar said Trump is just doing what Obama was doing. So he's really not doing anything crazy or bad. It's like, oh, okay. I'm sure that was pretty funny, though. I'm sure that made a few people turn their heads for a second, saying, oh, well, okay, no problem. Hey, links to Don. How you doing down there? Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while, Links. Good to see you, though. Definitely good to see you. But anyway, yeah. So I was really happy about getting this flag. It's one of those kind of tea stain kind of flags. It's real good cotton fabric too. It's not some cheap nylon thing. I was really impressed. With it. Yeah, sure. Whatever you want to do. My brain works is my mind. Yeah, Bruce. Yeah, totally, man. Right with you on that. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, Yeah, Bruce. That's it. Exactly. But anyway, so let's. In fact, let me see if I can find that Omar story real quick here. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. Okay, here's this is from the Washington Examiner. Ilhan Omar, of all the people, says Trump is technically using Obama's border policies. So, Representative Ilhan Omar admitted that when people point out President Trump is continuing some of the immigration policies that former President Barack Obama had put in place, they are technically correct. So, you know, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Tried calling. Oh, you did. Oh, did I miss it? Hmm. No, I didn't see it come through. You tried calling Carl's opinion. Huh? That's weird. I didn't. Still don't see it. Let me see. Call. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see you there. I don't know why it didn't come through. All right. You want me to call you back and call you back? Here, hold on. Let me call you back. Hold on. Hey. All right. All right. I'm gonna put you on it. Yeah. Every once in a while, when I call, somebody's answer machine answers, and it gives them all kinds of information they don't want on there. So I'll put you on this. I'll put you on right now. Okay.
Mine does not.
Okay, you are now live. All right, got the great Effie Loves America
Okay.
live on air. So what's up, Miss Effie Loves America?
Hi, Mr. Carl. Hi, chat. Was the zombie on? Did I get zombied?
No, no, I just had you because no,
Uh,
I called somebody back once. It was somebody we know, and I called this person back, and it went to their answering machine, and it was like, uh-oh. So luckily I kept it off the screen. But so whenever I call somebody back, I take it off the YouTube just in case. It goes to an answer machine and it says something they don't necessarily want out there on YouTube. So yeah, no, no, you didn't get zombied.
sure.
You didn't get zombied. No
I
zombies.
do not. I do not give out personal information like that. So don't. No worries about me. But yeah, I hear.
Well,
But
well,
I am kind of
well.
disappointed that I'm not dangerous enough to rate the zombie.
Oh, sorry,
I
sorry.
guess.
No zombie. No zombie for you. Let's see here. Let's see.
No,
Zombie. There we go. I'll tell you what. I'll put it on the screen
I
here
don't want.
for a second. You can see it. You can see it on the screen.
Okay.
So it makes you
I'll
that
feel
makes you
better
feel.
about myself.
There you go. That makes you feel any better. But what are you up to? What are you doing?
I'm angry.
Oh,
I'm
uh oh.
angry. We'll get to that.
Tell me what you're
Um,
angry about.
I don't want to drive you. I don't want to drive too far off your subject. This is your report from Florida, so I just want to give you a Florida report, and then.
Your phone's kind of goofy a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe it's my cold. My voice isn't so hot right now.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
um, w- One of the reasons probably why I'm angry is my stupid cold. It's kicking me. Yeah, I didn't want to drive you too far off the cliff. I wanted to give you a Florida report and then let you get back to the national stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And
What's going on? What's going
I
on in
woke up.
Florida?
Yeah, I woke up today to people talking about UFOs over my side of Florida this morning. Did you hear about that?
No, I
I
didn't.
was
I'm sure.
listening.
I'm sure the mainstream media is covering it all up. So what's going on?
Yeah, where there were a lot of they were playing on the radio, and when I was driving, they were playing the local 911 calls on the radio that people had been calling and all up and down the coast on the southern and Treasure Coast part of Florida, of people saying, "I don't want to sound crazy, but there's stuff in the sky." So I thought, well, something must be burning up in the atmosphere. There were several pieces. But anyway, what it was a Chinese satellite that had fallen into the atmosphere and was breaking up right over my house. Thankfully,
Well, I
nothing
mean,
landed.
okay. Is that what they're telling you? Are you sure that we didn't shoot down an alien spacecraft, and it was the remains of an alien spacecraft that we
Yeah,
shot down? Well, remember,
That's what the American Meteorological Society says it is.
Well, remember
Uh,
they remember we you mentioned this on the chat yesterday, and I heard the stories about Pence was called back to D.C. Putin had a special security private meeting in Moscow. The EU had some
yeah.
special security emergency meeting at the same time in Brussels, and then suddenly you got people calling in saying they see a quote unquote Chinese satellite dropping from the sky, like possibly it was like an alien spaceship that we managed to shoot down somehow. I think that's what it was. I think it's the aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an alien? Okay.
Yeah, we shot it down.
Well, we have no confirmation that it was even Chinese. They said, quote, possibly Chinese. So I think that makes people feel better.
Well, the funny thing about that is,
They,
it didn't show up on the mainstream media anywhere. So that would kind of be a big story if it was true. You know, Chinese satellite falls down off the coast of
um,
Florida. I mean, that might get some national news
right,
normally. And so if it's not getting national news, that means every single network has been told, don't cover this story. I guess they didn't
right.
pay. I guess they didn't pay you off.
Um,
Too bad they didn't pay you off because now you're on Carl's YouTube channel, and I see we're still on. I think maybe I don't know, and we haven't been zapped off yet. You know, but I mean, if they want to pay me to
well,
keep
you
it
see the,
quiet, no problem. Send me $1 million. I'll keep it hush hush. I'll tell Effie she's crazy, and then I'll hang up on her. So
uh,
send me $1 million. I'll do it right
uh,
now.
no problem. No problem. I don't
well,
mind what people think about me. You
well,
can go
well,
to the BGR website and see video of it. People got a lot of pictures, captured pictures, video of it coming in. It was pretty interesting. Fireballs in the early morning over the
well,
sky.
well, no, it's funny.
And
Yeah, that sounds very similar to, I think it was, I want to say 3 years ago. Let me see, it was 2019. Yeah, probably 3 years
yeah,
ago, we were in Vegas going to see a UNLV basketball game, and we were staying over. I want to say we were staying like at the Hard Rock, and we were going over to Thomas and Mack, which is right around. You have to kind of go the back. You have to go around because the way the streets go, because it's right by the airport. And so, you know, my wife's like, "Hey, look up," and I'm like, "Hey, I'm trying to pay attention to the traffic." No, she goes, "Look up," and I look up and I see like, and it's like this rocket. It's on fire. I swear to God, it's on fire. It's coming across the sky from behind us, and it's heading like right over the airport. I mean, there are planes landing and taking off right in front of us, and this thing flies right over the damn airport. I don't know how it didn't hit a plane, and then it kept
wow.
going, and then but it's on fire, mind you, okay, and it kept going, and it landed somewhere
Mm-hmm.
like in Henderson, which is just west of the airport. It's a small town, and that didn't get any really national news. Now we all saw it, and there just happened to be a bad. I mean, it flew right over the damn airport. I mean, if you were in a, you probably if you were in that, I can imagine being in that plane that it came pretty close to. I would have been freaking out. All of a sudden, I look out the
Mm-hmm.
window and I see this, this object coming, towards me, and I forgot what the story they said it was. I don't know, but they made up. It was something stupid. I mean, it was really like a dumb
Same.
story. But like I remember when we, at halftime, everybody, you go outside to smoke, and everybody's out there smoking. We're all talking about it. It's like, oh, you saw that too? Good.
Yeah.
I thought I was crazy. I don't want to say anything to anybody. People say, oh, you're just crazy. Nah, we saw that. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I saw that too, because it happened right when you would be leaving, like if you were in downtown leaving to go see the game because you want to park early, and then get inside. So a lot of people saw it. I mean, plus, it was it was on the strip. It flew right over the Las Vegas strip, you know. So, anybody who's on the strip looking up was like, oh, what the shit is that? So this sounds eerily similar to what you're describing.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was an exciting morning on the radio as I was driving. So I was
But
like,
but
"Ooh, listen to
but
that!"
but
People.
how come how come they didn't make national news?
I
I
don't know.
watched.
I was able to pull up stories on. I can find it online, but
Well, I mean, local news
yeah,
or
just
yeah, local news. But
I don't know. This is a science and tech website. I'm finding it on.
yeah, but nobody watches that.
So
That the people generally people don't go to a science and tech website to say, "Hey, I'm going to go check out a science and tech website today to see what's going on in the world." You
just
know,
weird people.
no, but I was saying that. So I mean, it wasn't like on
Yeah.
NBC or CBS or
Science. Ew. like stinking science around here. No,
No.
it's yeah, it looks to be about 3 pieces of debris from something coming into the atmosphere from higher orbit. Pretty spectacular.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
no. That what I
It's
saw
got a
was
nice long tail.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what I saw was really spectacular. I mean, it was like literally right over the strip, and it wasn't that high up. I thought for sure it was going to whack into
Hmm.
a plane taking off from McCarran Airport. So,
Well, if Carl, if you're gonna die, that would be an exciting way to go. I don't want to die some boring old way. That's pretty cool.
well,
Some
maybe
piece of
exciting.
something
Well,
from outer space hits you in the head. That's a pretty cool way to go.
well, yeah, maybe exciting for the
When you
people
sit
watching
around in
you.
heaven and you tell your story, so how did you get here? I got hit by space debris. That's cool,
No, they probably
You want
say,
to have
gee,
a good story.
no, they probably say, gee, what a loser. What are the odds of you being in the place when the freaking space debris comes down and hits you in the head? Out of like the 4 billion people
Well,
on the planet, it just happens to land on your head. They'd probably turn to you and say, gee, I guess God was out to get you. I'm surprised you're even here.
I guess I'm a glasses half full person. I mean, after all, the death rate is 1 per, so everybody's going to have a story. You might as well have a good one.
That's true. That's
So.
true. I guess I'm more cynical. It's the attorney in me. It probably makes me more cynical. Hey, what do you think about my flag? You see my flag?
I love your beautiful Betsy Ross flag.
Made in the
I've designed
USA.
some Betsy Ross sneakers of my own since Nike is too stupid to do that, and I've designed them. They should be hitting my website by tomorrow.
Ooh.
So,
Well, I'm sure
yep,
Amazon. I'm sure
I made
Amazon.
them.
Yeah. Well, tell us. Wait. Tell us more. So you can have different sizes. Can people order different sizes, or what's the deal?
Yeah. I designed a whole. Yeah, it's gonna. I went to the government archives. You can go to the historical archives national website,
Uh huh.
and you can actually find old paintings that are out of copyright. And I found a 100-year-old painting of Betsy Ross, over 100-year-old painting, obviously, and I put that into the design as well as the flag. It's beautiful. So,
Wow. I didn't know you made
yeah.
shoes. So you're
Well,
like,
I mean, I made the graphic. I just found a company that could print them onto shoes for me, so that I have
oh,
shoes. So
okay.
since Nike, yep. Hmm.
Nice, nice. Well, cool. Everybody should go to
Yeah.
Effie Loves America's website tomorrow. So what is it? www.effielovesamerica.com. What is that?
Yeah, that's the website. The shop is, one of those print-on-demand shops. So I actually have to rehost the site because I didn't like the agreement I had with who was hosting my site, so I have to
Mm-hmm.
change over.
Well,
But
if
I'll put
people,
it in here.
yeah, put it in the chat. I mean, if people are looking for you, do they just type in www.effielovesamerica.com?
Here. Yeah, that's the main site, but it's down right now. So
Oh,
let me
okay.
put my other.
Yeah,
I'll
put it in
put the shop up
put it
in
in
the
the chat
chat.
room. Hmm.
But yeah, that was just anyway.
Yeah,
That was
I mean, Amazon. I'm sure
it
made a
should work.
fortune. I'm sure Amazon made a fortune because everybody's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get me one of
Oh
those," you know.
yeah,
And so, and
yeah.
the first time I was looking for it, I couldn't find anything made in the USA. And then I went back like an hour later, and then there was a bunch of made in the US because I'm sure Amazon was like, "Oh shit, the people coming here are gonna want to be made in the USA." And they suddenly there was all these made in the USA Betsy Ross flags on their site, and for in under Prime, Prime listing, so you could order through from Prime and get free 2 day shipping. And again, the nice thing like about
Yep.
2 day shipping is like I ordered it like at 11 o'clock at night, and 2 days was today. I ordered it Monday night actually.
I
Yeah,
love I
yeah,
love America. I love Made in America. I love free market, and I love when you can profit off of other people's stupidity. I love all those things.
yep,
So, yay, Amazon did it.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
actually, it was whoever has that shop in Amazon. They might, whoever was smart enough to get that up and going.
Yeah, that's right. Because he does a lot
Smart.
of he does a lot like right a lot of like I don't want to say well he did a lot of vendor deals. What do you call it like what's that? Well, when you put your stuff in somebody else's store and they sell it for you and they get a percentage. What is that called? Damn it, you know.
When oh yeah. When you're talking about oh gosh. They have they have a thank you. When you have that moment when you can't think of a word and somebody else, it sort of triggers mine.
Yeah.
And somebody else does it and then I can't do it either, whatever that's called. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you're saying. You get like you promote
Consignment.
someone else's
Consignment.
shop and you get
Consignment.
like a yeah.
Consignment.
Oh, a consignment. You're talking about
Right,
that. Okay,
right. So
that's
now,
different. Okay.
right now, I'm not sure. Amazon really doesn't do consignment, but he has all these deals with these
No.
vendors, and then I guess
Yes.
if you if he if the company, not him, obviously he doesn't touch any of this shit anymore, I'm sure, but if the company likes you, then they make
Right.
you part of the Prime selection.
Affiliate. It's called an affiliate.
Okay, right, and then that
When it's
counts for the two
when
day
it's with
shipping.
Amazon or other companies online. Yeah, you get it's called affiliate marketing, and you get a code and or they go through your link and then Amazon gives your affiliate person a little bit of the commission too.
Okay.
Doesn't change the cost on the product.
Yeah, and then depending on I guess where their warehouses are, then they can qualify for the 2 day shipping. And then because some things you can't get 2 day shipping
Hmm.
on, like they'll say this is going to be a week. You know, like I had to buy a
Yeah.
file cabinet from like Han, and that was like 5 days. The funny thing about that is
Right. Right. Right.
I saw the price on Amazon. I go, man, that's expensive for this legal size 4 drawer file cabinet. So I said, well, let me go to the actual HON website. I bet it's cheaper there. It was like twice as much on their own website than it was from Amazon. And I'm like, well, this is stupid.
Hmm.
Same exact product, same product number, everything. Like I made sure I go, wait a second, maybe I'm looking. Nope, it was same
Sometimes
exact
it's
product
that
number.
way. And sometimes Amazon is much more expensive because I've gotten special products for my son, and they were more expensive on Amazon. So it kind of you have to look around. I
Yeah,
always look around.
a lot of times with like mixer board, microphone, stuff like that. They're generally about the same price. I found. Um,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
Computers stuff. Stuff I like to buy. Stuff that shows up. Again on my ad sections when I'm like reading newspapers and stuff. But okay. So
So
there it
before
is.
my echinacea and oh, you got that? Thank you. Before my echinacea and honey tea wear off, because it's helping the throat deal. Um, the thing that I was also angry about. Did you hear yesterday that Sheriff Scott Israel, who was fired because of the
The school
shooting?
shooting and also the airport thing. He did both. He was
Yeah.
in charge of both of those messes. Yeah. What happened to him?
Yes,
Tell me.
DeSantis suspended him, promised actually he was going to suspend him. That was one of his campaign promises. I love
Right.
DeSantis. And as soon as he got in, he suspended him. So he's been suspended and since then, and as an executive order. So that's pretty bad. But and on top of that, they the officers in the Broward Sheriff's Office, 534 out of 628 of them voted that they had no confidence in the sheriff. That was before.
Wow.
Um, and the president of the union said that was the very first vote of no confidence against the sheriff they had ever held. That's how bad it is.
Wow.
And that is in a heavily Democrat county. So it's not like they are, liking this guy either. Here's the kicker. He announced, well, first of all, he's been fighting in court to overturn his suspension since it happened. And this suspension has been upheld. In the meantime, he filed to run for sheriff again because there's nothing legally preventing it.
Well, no,
So
right. It's an
that's what I was
election.
like. Yep. So
That's
he's shameless.
crazy.
So
Oh yeah. Well, no, he's one of those
yeah,
guys. He couldn't go out and start a business and make any money doing it because he's too stupid. So he has to keep trying to
yeah.
get that government paycheck.
Well,
You know.
he needs to go and drive for Uber or something because nobody wants him to be sheriff. I'm
Right.
just
Yeah.
saying.
Well, he's not. He's not. Obviously, he's not going to win. I mean, who would donate money to that
I
campaign?
hope not.
Well, I mean, are
I
people
hope
that
not. There
stupid?
are a lot of crazy lefties. You
Well,
know,
lefties
there's
are
a
one
lot of
thing,
crazy lefties.
but he's incompetent.
Hmm.
Hopefully, well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. There are a lot of lefties, but yeah, he's incompetent. But what difference does that make? You know. So, yeah, one thing I like, and you see the story I got
Yep.
up here, Jay Johnson. Jay Johnson, you see, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, Jay Johnson, former Department of Homeland Security chief under Obama, he still has a lot of friends that work over in that department. He does. He has a lot of friends that that he knew from over there, and they were probably coming to him saying, "Hey, you have to come out and say something about this border issue because if we say it, it looks like we're kissing ass to our boss. If any of his people say it looks like they're just bullshitting and like they're just Trump people. But if you actually come out and say something, people will listen to you and they won't say you're full of shit." And so he has been. This is like the second big thing he's gone out and said, and he's talking about the Democratic candidates talking about pretty much open borders. And the quote I have up here from the Washington Times is unworkable, unwise. you know,
Yes.
Obama DHS chief rips 2020 Democrats pushing open borders. And the funny thing about that too is, they can't call him like a racist, or anything like that. That ain't gonna fly with him or anybody. Nobody, well, he worked for President Obama, and he's like, no, man, the situation sucks, and if you want to see how bad it can really suck, go for this like decriminalize illegal aliens and then also offer them free health care when they get across the border, and they're free, and of course it won't just be free health care, it'll be free everything else. EBT
This is
cards.
his second. This is the second public statement about the borders. He did it a couple of months ago. Have another
Right.
one about how much worse it is than when he was in.
Right.
And the thing is, we, the people that read, and the people that read the more conservative or right of center publications know about it. But the question is this making any waves in the lefty mainstream media? Are they just sweeping it under the rug that he's making these statements? They're just politely ignoring him.
Well, it was funny too because when he made that first statement, he was on Morning Joe, and there was no room for anybody to try to
Yeah, yeah.
hide. They couldn't say, "Oh, we got to break to a commercial," because he would have, he looked like a pretty big dude. I mean, he would libel him and said, "Hey, you ain't
Mm-hmm.
going to commercial. Let me finish what I'm talking about." So when he said it, I remember they were showing the reaction, from all the leftists on the panel, and they just were all looking at him like, because he specifically said, "Look, this is not a manufactured crisis. It's not a Republican manufactured crisis. This is a real crisis." And he gave the example like, my staff would know I would have a bad day if they told me they had more than 1,000 interdictions the day before. He goes,
Exactly.
but he goes, I can't even imagine what 4,000 would be like. He goes, I have no idea what that's like, and this is a crisis. And they had, you should, I loved it because I
Yep.
saw everybody on the panel. They were all waiting for him to, bash Trump or something. And I guess he shot. I guess he didn't tell them ahead of time what he was going to say either, because they all had that look on their face, like,
Yep.
what do we say now? He like they didn't know what to say to him. They didn't know
Yeah.
how to like, and they knew they couldn't like say anything bad to him because he would have just liable to rip somebody's head off.
Like
I mean, he looked like that kind of guy.
cockroaches when you flip the bathroom light on in the middle of the night. They just scream.
Wait,
That
what? What the
kind
hell
of
was?
thing.
What was that?
Yeah.
What'd you say? I missed that. I
I
didn't.
said that. I said they were like cockroaches when you flip the light on in the middle of the night.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
crap! And they're caught and they're frozen. They don't know what to do. Something's changed.
right. And so now,
So
and
yeah, they are. I didn't want to say deer in the headlights and play to the stereotype of Southern people. So
well,
I didn't say that.
I was
Um,
watching the five, and they were talking about about the manufactured crisis and all that. And now, back in January, I forgot the number was only like 19% of Democrats thought there was a crisis at the border, and that number now
yeah,
70%, 70%
jeez. But
Democrats.
they changed the narrative to but it's somehow the president's fault. So
Yeah, but
they're
that's not going
admitting
to
there's a
fly.
crisis, but it's the president's fault.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they can, try selling that one. Good luck.
The
I don't.
crazy hasn't stopped. They just mutated a bit, and it's metastasized. So, but I have yeah. Yeah. So what was I trying to say? Oh, and also on the stage when they were debating, did you notice the kind of pulling away from Obama? They're trying to be polite about it, but they're saying things like, "Yeah, he's a great guy, but," and
Well, they
they
better
try to
watch.
politely disagree.
They better watch that one too. Um,
Yeah,
that's kind
they
of.
don't have much. Well, because they have to, because Biden. That's one of the appeals that he has, is that he's part of the Obama legacy, and so they have to kind of be opposed to Obama, especially if Obama did anything that is similar to Trump. So especially then, but that's what I heard them actually literally saying that. When I respect Obama, but and so they've already started. They have to, because of who Biden is. He's the vice president, even without Obama's support, endorsement. He's still associated with that presidency. So
Hmm.
they have to actually do it, but they have to do it carefully, at least tacitly.
Well, that one story
But
I brought up.
anyway.
That one story I brought
Mhm.
up last night. Where Jeff Greenfield and also Andrew Zimmerman, not Zimmerman, Andrew, uh, shit. Anyway, two leftists. Let's put it that way, and they were both like saying, has our party gone off the rails? On this immigration thing. And Scarborough the other day was saying, he had that bunch of tweets out
Yeah,
saying, he goes, okay, so you're for making illegal aliens not illegal anymore. You're for giving them free health care and a bunch of other free stuff, and now you're for forced
yeah.
busing. And there was one other thing I can't remember what else he said that they were going off the rails on. He goes, "Do you just want Trump to get reelected?" Pretty much. He goes, "Are you people stupid?" And he goes, "I know you don't
Well,
care what
they're just whores. They're whores. No, they're not whores. You know who they are? They're the guy that took black Americans to the prom, but they're trying to go home with the illegals. That's who they are.
Yeah, well,
They're
hopefully,
they're not
hopefully
they're
everybody
not going
else,
home with the date that they brought to the
right?
prom.
They're not dancing with who brought them there. Exactly. No,
Yeah,
I agree with you on
exactly.
that. I agree with you on that. And I was being cynical. I was being cynical with a friend of mine today, and I said, here's the deal. If like say black people they only come out and they say give 20% support for Trump in 2020 and he wins. If I was Trump, then Trump says, well, okay, thanks, for nothing. And then he turns around to Pelosi and says, hey, you got enough votes to get like these 22 million illegals to become legal, and let's do that.
Mhm.
And like, okay, now where you at? It's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
because I can see him doing
Well,
something like that.
yes, you say nobody, but the disconnect is, remember, and it's disappointing, but a lot of people are below average in intelligence. Half the people are below average. So that's
Yeah.
part of their target audience, if you think about it. Those people don't
Well,
understand where money comes from,
I know,
or
but
how much
like
is a trillion. You know what
well,
I'm saying?
I know. But what I was saying the other night is that
So you can talk all you want about us not being able to afford it and it crashing our economy, but they grew up. They grew up in essentially a good economy. We had a hiccup with the market, with the housing market bubble, but for the most part, people have been getting free crap their whole lives for very little effort, in a sense, just by being born in this country. So they don't really comprehend poverty, not really.
well, no, no,
And
very few Americans have like actually seen like nobody starves in this country. Nobody goes hungry in this country.
yeah,
I was talking to a guy today. He's on disability and stuff, and he's been in and out of hospitals, and he's been in and out of different shelters, and he's been in and out of different subsidized housing, but he didn't look like he was starving, and he wasn't. I
hmm
mean,
right,
there are
right.
programs available to everybody in this country that if you're hungry,
hmm
you will get food. If you're tired, you will get sleep. If you're thirsty, you will get drink. And that, for what you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me.
We are very charitable, and we also have a big social safety net, and all of that. But even
Did you
beyond that,
just
being on the lowest
did
tier,
you just miss that song? That when you do the least of my
which
brothers,
song?
that you do unto me. It's from church. Oh, you never been to church. You're a heathen. The song from
Carl,
church.
you're talking. Are you talking about Catholic Church?
Oh, the only
I've only
church.
ever been into
Yes,
one of those one time.
the only
I went
church,
into
the
a
Catholic
Catholic
Church.
church one time,
Uh
and
huh.
my skin started burning, and I had to run out.
Oh, that's because you're Satan. You're the
So
devil. See, that's what
no, no,
happens.
I'm just a vampire. That's all. I mean, come on, can't
Somebody
help
throw
it.
holy water on you. It's
Born
like
that way.
here, yeah. It's like they saw you coming. They go, oh look, quick, get the holy water. They keep throwing on you. And you're like, gee, why is my skin burning? And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
huh, yeah. Huh? They start pointing. Then you go running out the door. They're like, oh, good, we got rid of her.
And it was, yeah, I did. I've actually been into pretty much every kind of church there was. You know, I find churches interesting. I like churches. I like especially the old ones. I find them fascinating,
Oh
especially the ones
yeah.
where there's like bones underneath the altar, and there's like, ooh, whose bones are under that one?
Well,
It's
yeah,
kind of
like well,
cool.
the older churches I like the architecture, and then like, what you saw like in the '80s, even in the Catholic Church, they try to make the churches like more inclusive. So it was more like the pews were designed to go around the altar versus like having the altar like the St. Patrick's Church, cathedral, the altar at the front and the
Mhm.
pews going straight backwards, that kind of thing. And so they try to get
Sure.
away
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
that. But when they try to get away from that, it made it seem like more like a movie theater. It's like, well, you know, whatever. Okay, because like in Catholic Church, when the priest would hold up the Eucharist, and you'd hear like the bell ring, like ding 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 ding. The altar boy would ring the
Mhm.
bell. Well, the reason why he's doing that is
Mhm.
because so the people in the back who couldn't see, he let him know that he's holding up the altar, and that's a time for you to say a certain little prayer. It's like he's holding up the Eucharist, he's holding up
Mhm.
the body and blood of Christ. So he rings a bell. And then during
Mhm.
Lent, I think they
Mhm.
actually, instead of ringing a bell, they have like a stick that goes clickety 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 click instead of a bell. You didn't want a
Mhm.
bell going off during Lent. But anyway, enough of the history of the Catholic Church. So, anyway,
Yeah, that's very fancy. Mhm.
yes.
I was raised in a one-room white clapboard church with no air conditioning, and that was pretty much it. It smelled like farmer
Oh,
inside.
gotcha. Well, anyway, I hope you feel better.
That was.
I hope you feel better. I hope
Thank
everything works
you.
works out for you there. Because yeah, you sound.
Well,
I can hear it in your voice. You sound not so good.
it's kicking my ass, but I wanted to just call in support and also give you some news from Florida and say I'm angry about all that and my cold, and I'm angry because I had to work with some hardware that made me disgusted because it hadn't been updated in several years. Plus, some of it was iOS, and iOS is from the devil. And anyway, speaking of Satan, and then I had to get my fingerprints updated for a thing, and you know, security thing, and they kept redoing them because my hands were too worn. I'm like, what the heck? I can't help. I also work with my hands. I'm not some kind of fluffy bunny.
Right.
So
No, you're there with a screwdriver and putting stuff together. I would just, yeah. I mean, you're doing furniture and all kinds of stuff.
this whole week has made me ticked off. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
So we need good news.
I will find a story. I will. I promise you, before the end of the show, I'll find a good. I'll find a good news story. How's that?
Thank you. You are my hero. So good night,
Yay!
everybody. I'm going to hang up and save my throat or get some more tea, I guess.
All right, young lady. I'll see you in the chat, and I'm glad you called in. And I do hope you feel better. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye. And that was the great Effie Loves America. Always a great call in, always a great conversation. And we can all hope that she feels better because, yeah, she doesn't sound, it's like a flu, it sounds like. Oof, awful. But that's one thing about living in the desert. You don't really get the flu a lot. I noticed when I lived in Houston or up in New York, that would happen. But like in the desert, it seems like it's just this dry heat most of the time. And I don't know, it just kind of burns it out. It doesn't really, you really don't get it a lot out. I mean, you get the flu sometime once. I mean, every once in a long while. I think the last time I had the flu was like 13 years ago. I mean, it was that long ago. And I remember being miserable. And I remember one of the worst things was I couldn't smoke. I tried smoking, but because I'm, that was not the smartest thing in the world to do, but you know, but you could barely breathe. It was just an awful experience. But here, check this story out. So yeah, this is Jay Johnson, former head of Department of Homeland Security for President Obama. And again, this is like Effie was saying. This is the second time he's he's actually come out publicly and said something about the crisis at the border, and that's actually pretty cool that he's willing to come out and there we go. That he's willing to come out and actually put his name out there and say, hey, this is the real deal, and we need to like really do something about it. So I'm glad he's come out. But listen, let's take a look at the story. Everybody wants to call in. Phone number 775-273-8970. So let's go take a look at this story. All right, there's Jay Johnson. And open borders, quote unquote, is now not merely a right wing talking point. The Homeland Security Secretary under President Barack Obama says the proposals being pushed by the party's 2020 presidential contenders are essentially that. During last week's Democratic presidential debate, candidate Julian Castro pushed a proposal to make crossing U.S. borders without permission no longer a crime, a position most of the other Democrats on stage promptly adopted. Cory Booker of New Jersey this week vowed to that he would issue as president an executive order that would virtually eliminate immigration detention. So pretty much anybody come across, just walk across. You don't even get detained. I mean, just literally just walk across. Say hi, and the Border Patrol just looks at you and says hi, and then you just keep going. Former DHS Chief Jay Johnson, though, told the Washington Post that these proposals would effectively implement an open borders policy. That is tantamount to declaring publicly that we have open borders, he said. That is unworkable, unwise, and does not have the support of a majority of American people or the Congress. And that's the whole thing. I was talking about this last night with the great dirtbag, and it was like, the Democrats are making the same mistake they made in 2016, with Hillary Clinton. They're not talking to the American people. When I say that, I mean they're not telling they're not talking to the American people, like hearing what they're having, not having a conversation with the American people. Like, hey, what do you need from us? What do you want us to do as as potentially your president, as your representatives? What do you want from us? What do you need? What do you need from us to help you? And they're not having that conversation. They're talking about helping illegal aliens, helping people, foreigners. They're talking about helping other people from foreign countries, and it's like a big thing. Like it's like foreign aid, basically. They're saying we're going to pretty much grant foreign aid to foreign countries, except we're going to do it differently. We're going to ask these people to come into our country, and then we're going to take care of them when they get here. Instead of sending aid to like Honduras or Guatemala and saying, okay, fix your country here, help your own people. So and I tell you what, just send us your people, and we'll take care of them when they get here. That's basically what they're doing. So, and the American people say, hey, what about us? I think Effie had a conversation with her last week. She was saying that somebody did a poll or somebody ran a clock on the Democratic debate, and more than half the time they were talking about illegal aliens. They weren't even talking about the American people. And if you're trying to win if you're trying to win an election, you're not talking to the American people and addressing their concerns and their fears and how to help them achieve their aspirations. You're going to lose. At the end of the day, you're going to lose. And so Jay Johnson's chiming in here, second time he's done it, about this crisis at the border and saying this open border policy would be a disaster. Mr. Johnson used a phrase that Democrats routinely dismiss as GOP scaremongering. Mr. Castro himself asked asked Sunday on ABC's This Week program about whether he advocated open borders, denied the premise, calling the term just a right-wing talking point. It always has been. Well, not anymore. The Obama era DHS secretary also, because he used it, that the DHS secretary said no, they're advocating for open borders. So I guess it's not just a right-wing talking point anymore. The Obama era DHS secretary also warned that if the next U.S. president implements a de facto open borders policy, there will come a much larger flood of immigrants and asylum seekers that even the one currently overwhelming the border, even greater than the one currently overwhelming border detention facilities. He went on to say, if we had such a policy, instead of 100,000 apprehensions a month, it will be multiples of that. Probably 400,000 or 500,000 a month. Because if you say, look, just come across, we're not going to detain you, and then when you get here, just say we'll have somebody sitting there with a clipboard and just sign you up for free health care for you and your 6 kids, and no problem. We'll take care of it, and then we'll get them to the public school. We'll get them some housing for free and food for free, and don't worry, the American taxpayer is paying for it, and we really don't care about them because we want to take care of you because you come from a bad place, and we're so much better here. So we're going to take money out of our pocket by force, out of other people's pockets, obviously, or other Americans by force, and make them give you money to feed you, clothe you, give you shelter and free health care while you're at it. So here, have it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for playing. Thanks for coming on board. And it's kind of scary. So let's see. Let's get to another story here. Let me jump over here real quick. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Let's see. Let me find another one here. This is a story from yesterday. I didn't cover, but I think it's worth covering today because here's the good news story. Here we go. And also from a criminal defense attorney's point of view, it's this kind of story you like. This guy sounded like he was set up by his fellow SEAL members, which of course, when we hear that, you're like, wait a second, these are SEALs and what's going on? And I guess this guy was one of those hard-ass chiefs, and some of his fellow members didn't like him very much. And something that it sounded like nothing happened turned into something happening, and there you go. But anyway, Navy SEAL Edward Gallagher found not guilty on a murder charge. There's a picture of him there with his wife, with his heading past the photographers, and after he got found not guilty. So, this trial was goofy because it turned out the prosecutor was actually monitoring the email from the defense attorneys, and the judge got so pissed off he took the death penalty. He took the maximum penalty was life without the possibility of parole, and the judge was so pissed off. He got rid of the prosecutor, and two, probably gave him a sight. I'm sure he got disciplined as well. But then he also took life without off the table and said the most you can convict him on would be life with the possibility of parole. Here we go. Phone call, Mr. Douchebag. Hey, Mr. Douchebag, how you doing?
What's up, Carl? What's going on? How you doing?
Doing all right,
man.
How
is everything?
Yeah, everything's going good over here. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, God, I hope Evie feels better. I know she didn't sound too good. I hope she's all right.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, you're from Florida. The weather there it's humid. It's a lot of potential for illness. It's real damp and that kind of shit. Plus, you got all these bugs flying around. They bite you. Who knows what you get when something bites you down there? See, we don't have we don't have mosquitoes here. We don't have fleas here because it's so hot, and there's no humidity. There's no like mosquitoes need water and humidity. Well, we don't have any of that here, so we don't get any mosquitoes. Same thing with fleas. Fleas need that kind of environment also. We don't have a lot of trees because we're in a desert, so we don't have a tick problem. Okay, if you will. Even though I know ticks travel on the ground a lot, well, they don't do well out here either. So now we have some really weird. We have we have the test site. The Nevada test site is literally, as a crow flies, probably only about 30 miles from where I live. And it's just over a mountain range, right? You can't drive directly there. And so we have what we call like a lot of nuclear bugs, bugs that nobody's ever seen before. But, we always suppose that they came about because of the nuclear testing. We have like these octoroon spiders, these big ugly looking spiders, and we have all kinds of they're weird looking bugs. We just don't have a lot of them. Okay, but we do have some weird looking shit. In fact, there's one science class in the high school. We were telling somebody who wasn't from here, we have some weird bugs here, and he goes, "Oh, that's not true." And the person said, "No, my son's in school, and they've actually submitted and got classified 21 new strains of bugs that exist nowhere else in the world." And they're like, "Really?" Like, yeah, they submitted them, and it's actually, this doesn't exist anywhere else. So we always say it's from the nuclear testing back in the 50s and stuff.
You know what's funny? I'm sitting here trying to find a story about Ron DeSantis, and surprise, surprise, I can't find it. It was about how he was ending the DMX here in Florida, And I guess Miami-Dade is a little mad, so they're going to file a lawsuit against him. And I guess it's going to take all the fees from the tolls. And I don't know, it wasn't a very big article, but they mentioned like all the tolls and everything. And I'm like, what is? I don't really fully understand. Why? Because you would think that they would do that because it's going to benefit all of the roads and the infrastructure that needs to get done around Florida. But it's like, what I think it is I think they know that investigations are coming, to Florida, because when Ron DeSantis said that we're not becoming a sanctuary state, right? This is something for the deep state in Miami to distract the people of Florida, with and then they're going to have their allies in the local media cover it and everything, And
Right.
it's like, this is full on war that we're in right now, I mean, we are in anybody who's, it's funny, like, people have asked me, and I've always said, like, I've had people say, like, why do I donate to Judicial Watch, right? Why do I kind of, I'm not saying that I don't support the NRA anymore, but, I'm a little disappointed with the NRA. Hopefully they get their act together, but, but anyway, but it's like, well, you got to support these organizations because, even if you just donate like a dollar or donate $5, $10, you're helping them. You are helping them because one of the things that the deep state is doing is they're trying. It doesn't get talked about much, but they're trying to get Judicial Watch to deplete a lot of its resources. That's why, because they know Judicial Watch is going to aggressively go after them. And they can actually, think about it. It's a tactic that they're using. Tie up a lot of these things in court. Try to stall for as much time as they can. And we need organizations like Judicial Watch to expose this and to educate people about the abuse of our court systems and the abuse of the federal government. Because they want to blow the they want to make the federal government so big that it overrides the civilian governments, it overrides the state governments, and like that's, and like Obama was doing, Obama was trying to create a huge dependency on welfare and
Right. Well, there were more people.
government benefits.
There were more people on food stamps at the end of his. Sean Hannity did a great job of this during the 2016 campaign. There were more people on food stamps at the end of his term than at the beginning of it. So generally, as a president,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be like making things better for people. Well, he intentionally was creating a situation in the economy where people would have to go on food stamps, that kind of stuff. So then, and then after Trump
Yeah.
took office, so I forget what his number was, like 2 million people qualified off of didn't qualify anymore for being on food stamps because they had gotten better jobs, they were making more money, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
but I mean, see, I've always said like a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people don't like Trump because they're afraid of the narrative that they're going to say like, oh, okay, the black man was president and he messed it up, and the white man came in and fixed it. But see, I'm sorry, that's not
Mm-hmm.
the case. Barack Obama was a very smart guy. I think what he was doing was intentional. Okay, so I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think he quote unquote messed anything up. I don't think he woke up and goes, "Damn, I screwed this up." No,
Mm-hmm.
I think he was doing this
Yeah.
on purpose. I mean, you don't go from
Mm-hmm.
2.2% annual GDP growth in 2015, and then it drops down in his last year of office to 1.5%. If anything, it should be going up, not
Mm-hmm.
down. And his annual
Yeah.
GDP growth actually went down to 1.5, and he's saying, well, we're just
Mm-hmm.
going to have to get used to GDP growth less than 2% per year. Well, yeah, he wants us to
Mm-hmm.
get used to it, but less than 2% per year is not even enough to keep up with the population increase. It just isn't, which means
Yeah.
everybody's going down and down and down. And then you have to apply for
Mm-hmm.
food stamps, Section 8 housing, more people on Section 8 housing at the end of his administration than at the beginning, welfare assistance, again, EBT cards, all that stuff. So, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that was intentional on his part, and thank God Clinton didn't get elected, and thank God Trump got elected, because otherwise we'd be right around that 1.5 annual GDP growth right now, and TPP
Well,
would have
not
gone
only that,
into
but we'd probably. Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
not only that,
yeah,
but I don't think
go
any
ahead.
of us would. Mm-hmm. Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and then they
Oh no,
would
I
have
was just going to say
then they would
because.
then they would have
Mhm.
done the Paris Accords on climate change, which would have destroyed our coal mine industry and everything else. They would have done the TPP, which would have sent more jobs overseas to China and to Southeast
Mhm.
Asia. All of this would have
Mhm.
just been decimating what would have been left of the. After 8 years of that, the middle class, would have been gone. We'd all be down at the bottom rungs of
Yeah.
society, and then people would then
Mhm.
start clamoring for socialism because why not?
Mhm.
It'd be like, well, it can't get any worse than
Yeah.
this, so let's try that out, and then that'd be the total death knell of this
Mhm.
country. And then in a generation, we'd end up looking
Yeah.
like Venezuela. I mean, without being,
Mhm.
hyperbolic. I mean, that's 25 years
Yeah.
would probably be about as much time as it would take. All the money would run out of the country, it would
Mhm.
go overseas to Europe, China. It would go to Southeast Asia, where the TPP
Mhm.
was going to have its best benefits, and we'd have nothing here.
Well. Mhm. Well, they wanted us. You know what they wanted us to do? They wanted us to buy. They wanted to put us also like in the military, right? They also wanted to put us in a position where we would have to rely on foreign governments to purchase our technology, our steel, our goods to manufacture, our tanks, our jets. And who knows what they would have done? Probably send us like bad parts, send us bad programs. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm just, not. I know I'm saying this. I'm explaining this in a non-educated way, but that was kind of one of their goals. Was they wanted us dependent on foreign markets for our goods. And who knows? Thankfully, Trump came in and was starting to bring more manufacturing jobs and trying to get that Made in America brand name get it going again. Buying American, supporting American, and this whole thing that I think too with like when you look at like I mean Google, I don't really know how many program contracts they have with the military, but I'm assuming it's probably quite a bit.
Well, they
You
had a
know,
lot, and they were
and
talking
who
about
knows?
dumping some of them, but then they're doing this deal with China to help them with their AI.
Hmm.
So it's like, well, wait a second, like you're against helping our military, but you know damn well that China's going to use your AI technology for their military. Period. As the first thing they're going to use
Hmm.
it for. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really, I
Hmm.
don't understand. I mean, I do understand it. If that's intentional, then it's like, well, yeah, we want to build up China's military. Why? So they can dominate over
Hmm.
people in Southeast Asia? I mean, they're not going to treat them
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
nice. I mean, they're in
Hmm.
Africa right now
You know
treating
what's
those people.
funny?
The Chinese are in Africa right now treating those people like shit. They went in, they paid off a
Yeah.
few people at the top with a lot of money, and I mean a shitload of money. They paid them off gazillions,
Hmm.
and these people in this
Hmm.
country like, oh yeah, you can treat my people like shit, and that's what they're doing there in
Hmm.
Africa right now. So if you allow China to dominate
Hmm.
Southeast Asia, how do you think they're going to treat those people? Like shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean they're not
Yeah.
nice people. So
Hmm.
I mean that was what I
Well,
was
it's
really mad
like
at.
too.
That's what
Hmm.
I was really mad at
Hmm.
Obama about was that he had a great opportunity to, I mean, based on his ethnicity, based on the fact that his father was from Kenya, I mean, he could have just gone right
Yeah.
into Africa and said, "Hey, I want to do some business here, and we're going to come in here. Like, here's the deal: I'm going to bring the investment in, we're going to bring the money in, and we're going to get a percentage of what happens. But we'll build your infrastructure, we'll build your highways, or your hospitals, your schools, whatever. But we get a
Hmm.
big bulk of the profits up front, and then like 21 years from now,
Hmm.
okay, it reverts back to you or whatever." He could have gone into those
Yeah.
countries and he could have made that deal. Like only Nixon could go to China. Well, only Barack Obama could have gone to
Hmm.
Africa and make that deal. So he could have gone in there, got us in there,
Yeah.
got us in the head of the Chinese, and trust me, we would be treating the Africans much better than the Chinese are treating them. I mean, much better. I mean, it wouldn't even
Yeah.
be close.
Well.
Well, you know
Hmm.
us. I mean, we would just be really cool. It wouldn't be like,
Hmm.
the way the Chinese are,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's like
And
too, like the
and oh, and
farmlands in South Africa.
hold on,
Oh, go ahead. Hmm.
and we all could have made a lot of money on the deal and increase our
Hmm.
participation in work and everything else in jobs in our economy. So it would have been a win-win, a
Hmm.
win for the continent of Africa and a win for the United States of America. He could have done that. He chose not to. I don't know why. Dummy. Anyway, go
Hmm.
ahead.
Well, no, I mean, it all falls again. It all falls under being a puppet of, the cabal and Soros and his masters. And I mean, it's funny because there were even certain things that Obama didn't. He seemed like he was hesitant to do, like everybody thought he was just going to give away the keys to, the treasury to, all the projects and all, and it seemed like that's what his globalist masters kind of wanted him to do, but he seemed hesitant in doing it,
Well,
and
he's just going to
the
get away
funny,
with it. I mean, there's only so much you
huh?
can do. There's always look. That's the nice thing about our republic is that there's only so much a president or the House of Representatives or the Senate can do on their own. Okay, there's only so much you can do. That's and like this. If you want things to change quickly and your needs to be addressed fast and really quick, you're in the wrong
Hmm.
country. But it was set up like
Yeah,
that by design. They didn't want things to change
yeah,
quickly, and it's frustrating if you need that change to be done quickly. It's very frustrating if you were wanting that because just based on how our country was set up, we're designed not to move quick because that's good.
yeah,
That's why we're still
and that's a
here.
good thing. Yeah.
That's why we're still here 230 years later. Okay,
Yeah.
so and you see what happens when
Hmm.
people get anxious and move quick. That's called the Southern aristocracy in 1859. A bunch of
Yeah.
arrogant assholes, rich guys.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, all their neighbors in their towns that they were living in were poor as shit and doing really bad,
Yeah.
and they didn't care. But they were
Hmm.
like so arrogant. And that's what happens when you have arrogance and you get impatient. You end up with a bunch of
Hmm.
assholes like you had the Southern aristocracy, and then you end up in a civil war. But if everybody else is normal,
Hmm.
and that people act normally and say, well, it's going to take 20 years to get this done, 10 years to get this done, a year maybe to get this bill through. Okay, well, in the meantime, be fucking patient and realize it was a genius of the founding fathers to set up where things take time to get done. Okay, we're not
Yeah.
going to starve to death in the meantime. We're all right. We're still here.
Yep.
The world's not going to
Yeah.
end. We're not going to
Well.
end tomorrow. Just be
Yeah.
patient.
Mm. Well, it's like it's like these progressives. It's like not to change, like jump from subject to subject, but it's like these progressives. They think that everybody should be taken care of, and I would love to live in a world where we could take care of everybody. But
No,
that's
I
that's just
wouldn't.
not the
No,
reality of the
no, I
world.
wouldn't. I don't think I would
I
enjoy
mean,
that. Why? Well, how would that be enjoyable if everybody was quote unquote taken care of, and there was no agency, there was no responsibility, there's no sense of doing what's right and doing what's moral.
mhm.
They're just kind of just hanging out
Well,
and
no,
getting
we
stuff
just don't
handed to
live in
you.
that world. Yeah.
No, no. What I'm
Hmm.
saying is,
But that's
I mean, I
mhm.
wouldn't, I wouldn't enjoy a world where everybody's taken care of, and then you don't have to use any kind of hard work or ingenuity or use your brain or
Mhm.
your muscle or a combination of
Mhm.
the two to get something
Mhm.
accomplished, which makes you a better person. Like you, well, if you work hard and you save your
Mhm.
money and you go out and you buy something with it, you feel good about that purchase. It's like, hey, I saved my
Oh yeah.
money. I
Yeah.
worked hard. I
Mhm.
was putting money aside. Maybe I worked an extra job so I could save up some money to buy something I
Mhm.
want to buy. And then you finally get it saved up and you go out and you buy it. And then you say, "Hey, I
Yeah.
earned it." I know there's a whole bunch of satisfaction that comes from that. And I don't want to live in a world where
Mhm.
I'm just taken care of. I don't think that'd be any
Yeah.
fun. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. No. No. I mean, it's like. Well, I mean, it's like I meant more not like where everybody's getting like a free handout, but like where we have enough jobs and enough, where people like enough opportunity and enough jobs for people to be able to have access. You know what I mean? Like get those jobs. You know what I mean? But I know that's not the world we live in.
Well, no,
And we, and then
even a full employment situation. I mean, full employment. You need people who are unemployed. Okay, you need a
mhm,
base. You need some kind of a labor pool to draw from when the economy expands. There has to be somebody out there for you to hire. If everybody's working,
yeah,
you can never expand. So like what I
mhm,
did a story the other night. Guatemala is like a 2.7, 2.8% unemployment. That's probably about as low as they
mhm,
need to go. We're at 3.6 right now. I,
mhm,
maybe 3.3, but you really don't want to get below that. Then it
mhm,
really gets kind of scary. So,
mhm,
because then inflation starts going through the roof, and that's not good. So, I mean, we're in a
mhm,
pretty good sweet spot right now, and that's fine. And yeah,
Hmm.
the progressives
Yeah.
like with like universal income, where everybody gets paid 1,000 a year or 1,000 a month, or whatever the
Hmm.
hell they want to do. Everybody gets a baseline bottom number, which of course would kill would drive inflation through the roof, cause the Fed to drop, raise interest rates and destroy whatever economy you think you were going to get out of it. But no,
Yeah.
I mean I'm kind of
Hmm.
happy with
Well,
the
that's.
free
Mhm.
market. I'm happy with the free market. I'm happy with the some of the social safety nets we have in place. Mainly for elderly
Yeah.
people. Some of they when they retire, they have a few bucks. They're not going to live rich. They're not going to live like they were living when they were working. If they didn't put money away
Hmm.
into a 401k, if they didn't, exercise any kind of delayed gratification, if they didn't go to school or learn a
Hmm.
trade and then, work nights, and go to school during the day, or, vice versa, and, make some
Hmm.
sacrifices to actually get ahead in life. I don't have
Hmm.
any empathy. I don't have any empathy for those people. You know, I
Hmm.
don't. If you
Hmm.
if you if
Yeah.
you if you wanted to buy while you were working, and then you get to retirement age and retire, oh, all I got is Social Security. Well, what did you buy while
Hmm.
you were alive? I mean, while you were working? How come you didn't save any money up?
Yeah.
How come you didn't put money in and like get with your employer and some kind of matching funds or whatever? How come you didn't put any money aside? Instead of having to buy the new car, buy the biggest house, buy the best clothes. Instead you put the money away. Then when you retire, you have more than just Social Security to rely on.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's funny because like it's like I don't know if you ever seen like back in the day. I researched this a little bit, but I could be wrong. I could be off on some points, but like back in the day, like in the 1800s, when they paid a retirement, you were like like in, let's say you survived, if you were lucky enough to survive war, because the way they fought wars back in those days was ridiculous. I never understood, the battle tactics of marching in front of a line while you're getting shelled at by cannons, but hey, that's whatever they did back then is whatever. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, it was like, you might get like I think the average pay was like what, $12 for a soldier. A soldier got paid like $12 or something like that. But it wasn't very much. Obviously, back then it was, today's things obviously not that much money, but back then it was maybe a little something to live off of. But your pension might be like maybe $5 or $6, but then you were expected to literally die after a certain amount of years, and they just stopped paying the pension altogether. But like retirement nowadays, it's like from what I understand, it's really hard. I know people who've gone in the military and they're out like I knew a guy who he got like he was 1 year away from getting his pension and he just got out. And I'm like, dude, you threw away all that time. You did 14 years. Why not do one more year? But people have their reasons for why they move on. I'm not going to criticize his decision.
Hmm.
But those pensions were only designed to pay for so long, because it's like the government just expected you to die at a certain time. But then it got rolled over to where your wife or your partner gets your pension, if you declare them, to get it,
Right, like
or
yeah, no,
or
yeah,
like
no, right. Some pensions have death benefits. Now some don't. That all depends, and
yeah,
that's a negotiation between the employer and the employee, or between a union. I mean, that's on the employer. I'm sorry if you negotiated a bad deal. Well, you negotiated a bad deal, and if you were banking on the fact that people are going to
yeah,
die and they don't, well, tough shit. You made a bad deal. You get nobody to blame but yourself.
yeah, exactly,
Now if it's like a
yeah,
city government kind of thing, then you get the politicians involved. Yeah, that kind of sucks. When I was town attorney, I had to negotiate the contract for the fire department, and they came to me and they said, every time that's been negotiated between the town and the fire department, it's always had to go to either mediation and or arbitration. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any
hmm,
fucking sense because we're in a small town. It's like
hmm,
you're telling me we all know each other. I was town attorney, and then the town manager, and then the fire chief, and then you had like that was like management, right? And then you had
hmm,
the union representing the firefighters. I'm saying we all know each other. I go, you're telling me we have to go to
yeah,
mediation or arbitration? I go, that's bullshit. So with the first thing I did, um, when I got in, I said, okay. I turned to the fire chief and I turned to the president of the union, who've known each other for years. I said, okay, a lot of
hmm,
what's going on here is fireman shit. I go, I'm not a fireman. I don't know about uniforms. I don't know about fireproofing. I don't know about this kind of shit. You two get together
Mhm.
alone and you work out that shit because I don't want to hear about it when we sit down to negotiate. And then it was all kind of like the
Yeah.
negotiation was supposed to be like all kinds of formal. Well, we need to caucus, or we need to take a break, or I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And then the issue was where are we going to meet to do
Mhm.
this, and like whose turf are we going to
Mhm.
be on? And I'm like, are you kidding? What is it? It was like a bunch of children in a room. You know, I felt like I was dealing with like high school
Mhm.
kids. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking
Mhm.
about? I go, just fuck. I don't give a shit where we meet. Like we were going to meet in Vegas or something. I'm like, fuck that. I ain't driving to fucking Vegas. You know, like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
I go, fuck that. We'll do it. I
Mhm.
can do it at my office, your office, whose office. I don't care. When we agreed on this one place that property the town owned. I'm like, fine, good. It's right
Mhm.
across the street. We did that, and then,
Yeah.
and guess what? We got the deal done. It didn't go to mediation. It didn't go to arbitration, and we got it done. I think in 2 days, and it was done. You know,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
now you can now if you negotiate a bad deal, well, tough
Mhm.
shit. You know, so
Yeah.
that's on you.
Yeah.
But you don't have to
Yeah. Yeah.
negotiate a bad deal. You can negotiate a
Yeah.
good deal. You know, and you can do.
Well,
There is such a
it's
thing
like.
as there is such a thing as a win-win deal. Okay, now again, if
Yeah.
these employers or the city negotiate a deal expecting people to die and they live longer, well, they made a bad deal and they're stuck with the bill. There you go.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it's really funny because it's like when you look at plea deals. You know, I've
Wait, like what? Like what?
I'm
Hold
not a
on.
lawyer.
Wait, what?
You know,
What?
like
What?
plea deals, like
Oh, plea
plea
bargains.
deals.
Yeah, plea bargains. Like
Yeah,
when
like
the
plea
defendant,
bargains.
right? The prosecutor offers the defendant a plea bargain. He's charged with like say robbery, and the robbery with
Mhm.
use of a deadly weapon. They drop it down to like straight robbery or to like a burglary or something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but what's really funny was and I don't know. I've heard. I don't know. I've seen stories where like somebody tries to like wheel and deal in situations like that. Like I guess it would depend on what kind of like let's say if they were part of some kind of a gang or something like that, or and these guys are like let's say like your prosecutors looking to bring in a whole. I mean, I'm not talking NCIS type stuff, but stuff like that does kind of go on in real life, but not on TV, obviously. But it's like it's like sometimes these guys are like, well, if you want the goods, you're going to have to pay me this, and on top of this, and what I want. And I'm like, these guys are
No, no,
not
wait, hold it, hold it,
very
hold it. Wait,
intelligent.
wait, no, hold it. I don't understand the last part of what you said. Okay, like you got a guy charged with a crime, right? He's in a gang.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
what was the next part after that?
Oh, that they okay. Like let's say if they were they have known connections to a gang, right? That let's say a prosecutor might be looking at like investigating a crime, right, or something. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't. I'm trying to explain as best I can with my limited knowledge on this kind of stuff.
Okay, no, you're fine.
But
No, you're fine.
let's say like no, but do correct me if I'm wrong on anything.
Okay,
Let's say okay, like let's say you have um, a gang of eight who are running drugs and known for running drugs, right? Let's say one of them gets busted, right? Let's say that attorney, or like let's say that prosecutor, whoever is looking to, or let's say the law enforcement, they're looking to try and bust these people, right? And let's say this guy has information that could help them with their crime, right?
right. Okay.
I've heard stories of like where they try to negotiate with the cops. It's like, well, and then they get like stupid, and then they want money on or like some kind of a reward for turning in these guys or turning in these people, right? And
Yeah,
on top
I
of their
right.
sentences
I
getting
haven't, I
reduced.
haven't, I haven't seen like where they get like a monetary reward. Now, if you, I mean, this has been going on probably for I don't know a century, where
Mm-hmm.
you have a group of guys who committed a crime, you catch one of them, and you say, okay, look, if you roll over on your friends, okay, we'll give you a better deal than we're going to give them. Whoever, like in other words, whoever rolls first gets the best deal. That's generally how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Hmm.
roll on your friends, and if you don't roll, trust me, your other friend will roll, and he'll get the good deal, and everybody else is gonna get fucked. Yeah, that happens all the
Hmm.
time. And then you'd be surprised how many
Yeah.
people roll, And I don't like even being
Mhm.
part of those deals myself as a defense attorney. If somebody goes, well, I can do that. I go, I don't want to hear about it. Well, no, I
Mhm.
got this. I generally tell them I don't want to hear about it. But then
Mhm.
if the
Yeah.
prosecutor comes to me and says, look, we'll give your guy a deal if he does this. Well, ethically, I have to bring that to my client. I have to bring that
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
him. And if my client insists that I bring an offer like that to the state, well, I have to ethically I have to bring it over. But a lot of guys will make
Mhm.
up shit too. They'll just say, oh, I got this info, and it turns out they have nothing. And then as an attorney,
Yeah.
you're concerned also then at that point is, look, if this guy says he's got something, I bring it to the state and it turns out to be shit, then the state's really going to be pissed off at him because they wasted the time looking into it. And so,
Mhm.
it better be really good, because otherwise somebody's going to get
Yeah.
really pissed on the other side. Then my guy's going to get really hammered.
Couldn't they charge him with like obstructing, not necessarily obstructing justice, but they could charge him with failure to cooperate with law enforcement, because if he's agreeing to a plea deal, then and let's say if he's knowingly giving false information, I would think wouldn't that kind of fall under the charge of not or what is it, failure to comply with law enforcement or something like that, because if he's agreeing,
Well,
I,
no,
I don't know, I could be wrong
no,
on that.
no. What generally happens, it's like a substantial assistance kind of thing, where you say, okay, here's your deal. If you substantially assist us in finding other people, then the state says we'll agree to drop it down to this. And then a lot of times, not a lot, but sometimes then there's a disagreement of whether or not that if your client actually provided that substantial assistance to law enforcement, and you actually have to have a hearing on it. And so the cops come in and say, yeah, this person was supposed to give us this, this, and this, and it gave us nothing. And then as a defense
Hmm.
attorney, you say, well, no, my client gave you this, and this. You just didn't follow up on it, or you gave yourselves away too much, and then the person didn't want to, like a drug case, for instance. That's generally where you see it. Well, my client gave you the
Yeah.
names of the people who were drug dealers, and you decided to botch the deal because you blew your cover. So then you actually have a hearing on it to
Hmm.
see if the state has to follow through with its deal, that they'll drop it down to a certain crime if they're going to, and then the judge makes the call. He'll say, well, I think this person did provide substantial assistance. I think the cops just blew it, or they didn't take advantage of the information. Or a lot of times they'll say, well, no,
Hmm.
hey sir, hey lady, you didn't provide shit, and no, I'm going to release the state from their obligation to grant you, the lower charge, and we're going forward with this charge or whatever. There's actually a hearing. It's
Yeah.
done. It's obviously a closed hearing. The only people in there are the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the defendant, the cops, and the judge. The clerk staff. But I mean that's it. There's
Hmm.
nobody from the public's allowed in on a hearing like that.
Yeah. What's funny too, like, speaking of like, law, things, law and all that, I remember seeing, it's old news, I know, but I remember seeing Lois Lerner in court, testifying, against, Congress about, her people in, the IRS under her, because they were targeting known conservative groups and things like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Now, the
That's
reason
from
why I'm
right.
bringing this, yeah. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up, is like, let's say a Democrat wins, beats Trump in 2020, right? What if, and this is possible because, they're going to, because the deep state and these globalists are going to want to eliminate everybody who stands in their way. People like us, they're going to want to get rid of people. And when I say get rid of people like us, they would try to find ways to ruin us, right? Financially or, So, what I would think that they would do is, one of the things they would do is they would look at where we've donated, who we've donated to, and, like, let's say, because I donate to Judicial Watch,
Mm-hmm.
and so does like maybe 10, 12 million other people. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's say now, like me, for example, okay, I'm single. I've been single all my life. I get a return every year, right? So let's say that they look at let's say that they decide to audit somebody like me because, oh, this guy donates to Judicial Watch, so let's say, what can we do with him, kind of like
Right.
what they were doing. I mean, I don't know the specifics of what they were doing, but I know that they were doing similar things like that under the IRS with Lois Lerner in charge of it, right?
Yeah,
That they
well,
were targeting known conservative groups.
one they were slow walking the applications for the nonprofits, and then two, once they even got the nonprofit status, then they were doing audits on them to see if they really were if they qualified, if they could continue on with their nonprofit status, and they ran them through the hoops,
Mhm.
and it was a bunch of disaster. And yeah, they showed that they were just specifically targeting conservative nonprofit groups versus liberal nonprofit groups, and nobody went to jail over
Yeah.
it. It was one of those Obama scandals that if Trump had done it, if he had targeted liberal nonprofits, his IRS, if you will, his Treasury Department, it would be all over the news. It'd be all over the place. It'd be crazy. But since it was Obama's Treasury Department and hence the IRS division, nobody talked about
Mhm.
it, so it wasn't a big story. So they would
Yeah.
say, "Well, gee, he didn't have any scandals." Well, no, he had scandalous behavior. It's just that the media didn't
Oh
cover it
yeah.
and turn it, and the media didn't cover it, and hence turn it into what would otherwise be a scandal. The gun
Yeah.
deal, the what's that stupid gun deal called? What we talked about it a bunch of
Fast
times.
and Furious.
Fast and Furious. If
Yeah.
that was the Trump administration, it would be all over the place. The IRS scandal, that would be all over the place. Benghazi with Trump, I mean, that would be all over the place. I mean, but
Mhm.
it's not as it's like if a tree falls in the forest, nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make a noise. If somebody does something
Mhm.
scandalous and illegal, but nobody reports on it, well, then nobody knows about it. The American people never know about it. Nobody cares. So there were
Mhm.
plenty of scandals. Just that
You
it was
know.
plenty of
Mhm.
scandalous behavior. Just the media never reported it to turn it into a scandal.
Yeah. Well, okay, like some people in the chat may disagree with me when I say this, but I'm just going to point out a couple of things that I think Obama did, you know, fairly good, and disagree with me if you want to. It's cool, but like Obama did some good things for the LGBT community, right? Made it easier for them to, like leave, say if they had a partner to leave the money if they chose to leave, you know what I'm saying? But it was
Yeah.
for, but again, I think Obama was doing that for the wrong reason, right? And Obama, one of the interesting things that, like the type of jobs that sprung up during the Obama administration were these jobs like Uber and, like some of these like hustle, not hustle jobs, but like, quick, side pocket jobs, kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when you take that, Obama can be credited for that, you know what I'm saying? But then when you credit that with Trump's good economy, right? It's like people have found ways to make more money without having to get a 20-hour a week part-time job. Like they could do these jobs based on their full-time or their main job that they have, right? And those are some of the good things that Obama did, because, Carl, I've said many times on your show that, I believe, and I believe the LGBT have a right to live their life, just like I have a right to live my life the way I choose, but I wouldn't shove my life down their throat any more than I'd want them to shove their life down my throat. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the beautiful things about living in our country is that we have those options, and and I haven't really been following what I know that the last thing I heard with Trump, he was trying to decriminalize um, same-sex marriages in other countries,
Right. Yeah, he
because
was working
it's a
overseas for
known,
that. Yeah. Right. Like in the Middle East, where
yeah,
where
and
he
that's
actually has a lot of influence, where he could actually get something done, and he's actually been doing it. And right, and they keep saying he's like
yeah,
homophobic, he's anti-gay. It's like, no, he's actually
yeah,
just the opposite. I mean, look, he grew up in Manhattan, he grew up in Queens. I mean, he was around a lot of gay people and rich gay people.
yeah.
And who in what world can you say that Trump would be anti-gay? He lived around them, he worked with them, he had gay people working for him, he did business with gay people. Why would anybody
Yeah.
could consider He went out to nightlife, probably snorted coke with a whole bunch of gay people, and partied, and
Oh yeah.
Studio 54 and all that stuff. And like, why? Who could possibly say that he's anti-gay? I mean, I don't know. You'd have to live in some kind of weird parallel universe to be able to think that he would naturally be like that. Him, he's a big partier. He's
Well,
in New York. He's into
yeah.
fashion. He's into. I mean, he was selling ties and fashion. I mean, who do you think he works with in the fashion industry? I mean, come on already. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
nonsense. And he's over there actually trying to do something. And of course, he doesn't get any credit for it. And of course, he still keeps getting bashed. And I don't.
Mm-hmm.
People are just so fucking brainwashed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, did you see that interview that Floyd Mayweather did on? I don't know what I forget. It might have been some hip hop show, but what was interesting about that interview, and I've seen it a couple of times, was that the guy, you could tell that. I mean, he was in a room of many African American entertainers, and Floyd Mayweather was like, Trump speaks the way a real man should speak, and you could tell that they did not like Floyd Mayweather's answers, because he wasn't necessarily defending Trump, but he wasn't bashing him either. He's like, everybody liked Donald Trump before he ran as president, and he was saying, look, the man did his homework, did what he had to do, and he got into the White House, and it's true. And Floyd Mayweather was like, also, people don't want to hear the truth. People hate the truth, And Floyd Mayweather was also talking about how, people spend all this time worrying about what other people are doing, that they could write up ideas to make a business, and that's very true. All the energy that the left, mainly, the radical progressive left, worry about every little thing that conservatives are doing and, limited government libertarians are doing, that they just have nothing else to do with their time,
Right. Oh,
and,
tell you what. Here's a good question in the chat, and I'll ask it to you, and then I'll give my opinion. So October Love writes, "What do you think about the Democratic debate? I think there is definitely an anti-Bernie spin going on." I don't know. You have any thoughts on that,
yeah.
Mr. Dirtbag? Tell me.
Actually, yes, I do. If you remember correctly, forget who it was who said it, but one of them said that the Democrat Party should not be run by old white men, right? Well, Bernie Sanders obviously falls into the category of old white men. So does Joe Biden, but as we know, Bernie Sanders does not have the support that he did 5 years ago today. 3 years ago today. So when you look at Bernie Sanders and you look at Biden, these progressives, like the Kamala Harris's base, Elizabeth Warren's base, and Pete Buttigieg's base, they're all going to team up to attack them. They're ripping Biden left to right. I haven't really been following what they're ripping Bernie on, but they're basically, it's funny because they have a common enemy in these two, right? So what happens is once they get these two, because the only one I could see surviving the primary is possibly Biden, because he's really the only somewhat sane one out of the entire candidates that are running for office, But I think Kamala Harris recently shot up in the polls, I believe. And I don't know where Elizabeth Warren's at right now, but the Democrats are basically kind of making, they want. I'm going to say it, Carl, because there's no other way to say it, and I say this as a minority myself, half minority, but they want minorities to be the face of the Democrat Party. They want people like Stacey Abrams, Andrew Gillum. They want, if you're white, you have to be gay. You can't be a straight white male in the Democrat Party.
You have to be a member of a quote unquote victim class, which is like why Buttigieg keeps pushing the fact that he's gay. It's like, again, he's the only one who keeps bringing it up, and we're all like, who gives a shit? I mean, Republican, liberal, whatever, we don't care. But see, understand, he has to keep bringing it up because every time somebody looks at him, they see a white guy. So he has to say, oh yeah, no, I know you see a white guy, but I'm really gay. So it's like, oh, you're gay. It's like, oh, okay, now I'll listen to what you have to say. So I don't think he's doing it to. He's not so much doing it to win points. He's doing it to stay alive. Because if all everybody sees is this white guy up on the podium, they'll say, oh, I'm not listening to this white guy. But oh wait, oh, you're gay. Oh, okay. What do you have to say? Well, it's like people. It's only shot. I made a joke. I said I don't think the guy's even gay. I think he just made that up. He found some dude. He said, we'll pretend we're gay. Otherwise, I can never run for president because I'm a white guy and I'm a liberal Democrat. The guy's like, oh yeah, you can ever run. Okay, well we're gay. He's like, ooh, kiss each other. He's like, no, I don't want to kiss you. Oh, okay, we got to do it for the cameras. Okay, fine. Okay, everybody's, oh good, he's gay. It'll turn out like 4 years from now they'll say, oh, we're not gay.
Yeah, well, it's like and I've even asked some of these, some of the leftists that talk to me. I've asked them, do you only talk to me because I'm half Cuban? and because my family is from a communist country, and the look on their face, I know I've said it time and time again, but the look on their face is, wide-eyed, mouth open. Wait a minute, you don't support the Democrat Party? And I'm like, I support who represents my values. I'm an independent for a reason. Now give me one sane Democrat who's running on non-socialist open borders policies, and I'll do my research on that candidate.
Right.
I mean, you can't just, that's one of the things that I love talking about to you, Carl, because you're not like like as much as I respect Derek Grayson, I know I say this all the time, but I couldn't have a conversation with Derek Grayson like I can with you because you are more open-minded than Derek Grayson is. I mean, Derek Grayson is a smart guy. He's 80% right in everything he says. But when he starts talking about, the LGBT, this and that, I don't agree with him on that. I'm sorry. I just don't because, they have a right to they have a right to live their life and, just like he has a right to believe in God and read the Bible.
I mean, well, look, we're not a theocracy, okay? I mean, if you want to live in theocracy, you can find one to go. Well, I don't know, they're hard to find right now, but I'm sure you could go to an island and create one. But that's on you. But you live in a republic, it's a constitutional republic. Sorry. I mean, if you want to change that, you can do a constitutional amendment. Good luck, it won't pass. But I mean, if you live in a republic, then sorry, people can be gay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, that's just the way it is. So okay. I mean, other more he wants.
Look at Axel. I mean, Axel. He talks about how much he appreciates his partner. Him and Kyle, and they're huge Trump supporters. Because they know, Axel always talked about how he was on that side, right? And then he had, I don't know when he doesn't really talk about his red pill moment, but you could tell that Axel is very furious with a party that left him behind, and that's what's happening. You have a lot of these people who, were former Democrats, they're still Democrats, but where do you find your fight? Where do you find, and that's why I've talked many times before how the right has been shaped into so much, like where where it used to be, you had the hardcore religious, forget the way I say this, not to offend anybody, like Bible thumping conservatives that, well, you're not going to go to heaven if you do this, that, and because of the fact that so many people have come from the left, have come over to the right. It's made the right more open-minded and more, hey, look, hey, somebody can be gay and love God, because, God is supposed to be loved. God loves all of his creations. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to heaven, Carl. I can't say that I'm going to heaven. That's up to God to decide, not me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's like, but the point that I'm getting at with all this is that, it kind of reshapes what it means to be conservative, because conservative people think automatically Bible, God, church, and conservative, you preserve what works. You preserve what you know works. If you have a certain ideology, the way you live your life, you conserve that way of life because it gets you through day to day as best you know how to get through, and that's why certain people live their lives. That's why you have people who have a certain group of friends, people who, you might have people who go out and get drunk every Saturday night because it's tradition. Hopefully they're smart about it, but that's what they do to, relieve stress. They conserve that idea because it helps them to cope with the everyday hardships. I mean, you can break down what it means to be conservative in so many different ways, and I think it's helped a lot on the right to open their eyes a little bit and to be more open-minded. And now it's the left that's the oppressive ones, and that they want groupthink. And, it's amazing how the roles have become reversed, I mean, let's say like during the Vietnam, the liberals got us out of Vietnam. You know, because, I'm not saying that they got us out, but you know, they were bringing
Wait.
a lot of.
Hold on. Who got us out of Vietnam?
I worded that wrong. I'm sorry. Like the liberals were like the
Well, the
you know,
liberals.
it was like the liberals were bringing awareness to this war that was never ending. You know, and they were like, you know, we need to stop sending our people to die over there. You know, because we're not winning this war. You know, they were the
Well,
ones that helped bring awareness.
well, I'll disagree with you to a certain point, whereas it was the liberals who got us into it. It was, you know, John F. Kennedy, his brother Bobby was the biggest
Mm-hmm.
hawk there was. There was a famous story told. I forgot who it was. I don't want to say it was national security, but it was they were sitting around the cabinet table, and
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about whether this is when John Kennedy was president, and Bobby was the attorney general, and they're sitting around talking about should we go into Laos? Should we put troops into Laos to actually expand the war into Laos? And the one guy says, "Well, no,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. President, I don't think we should." And then Bobby Kennedy turned to him and he goes, "What? You don't have any balls?" You know, because Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy was like a big war hawk. And they said the president kind of sat back in his chair and grinned a little bit because he liked that competition in a cabinet meeting. And so the guy goes, "No,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Attorney General, I have plenty of balls. Just that Laos doesn't have any ports."
Mm-hmm.
We can't
Well,
ship a lot of men
I
and
thought.
material there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, JFK, the famous story, like, oh, he signed an executive order pulling out the troops, and it was on his desk, and then he got assassinated and all this bullshit, and all that crap. And Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy was a big peace guy. Yeah, Bobby Kennedy was like, stick your finger in the air, lick it, and see which way the wind blows. Well, in 62,
Mm-hmm.
61, 62, 63, it was all about going into Vietnam and being badasses and fighting communism. And then 5 years later, of course,
Yeah.
the war is going south. But a lot of men are coming back dead or wounded or whatever. The country's really pissed off, and now
Mm-hmm.
he's suddenly like, "Oh, I'm going to bring peace. Now I'm a peace guy."
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't so much liberals bringing attention to it; it's just the numbers didn't lie. I mean, every night they gave you the body counts, every week,
Mm-hmm.
and the numbers were coming in, and it wasn't the liberal activists on the college campuses that got us out of the war. It was Richard Milhouse Nixon that got us out of it. And to make matters even better than that, everybody thinks Nixon was like a real badass son of a bitch. Nixon agreed
Mm-hmm.
on the peace deal to allow northern troops to stay inside of South Vietnam, which was a big deal
Mm-hmm.
to the South Vietnamese, and they were throwing a holy shit fit about it. And Nixon said, "Well, don't worry if they threaten Saigon, I'll send in the bombers and help you out." Well, then of course Watergate, Nixon's not there anymore. Gerald Ford says, "We're done, we're finished, we're not going back in '75." And he said it publicly, and that was the end of Vietnam. So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess liberal. You say liberals. I wouldn't say so much liberals. I'd say probably college age students who didn't want to get drafted were bringing attention to it because it was a meat grinder. The death
Mm-hmm.
count. You look at
Mm-hmm.
58,000 dead, and you see a lot. Most of the dead were from like say 66, 67, 68 were the big years, and that's when you saw a lot of activism going on. I mean, in 1965, Time had Man of the Year. I think it was an Air Force pilot who was bombing you know the poor little North Vietnamese. So the mood of the country changed when the bodies started coming home. And the mood of the country really changed
Mm-hmm.
when the people in the suburbs started having their kids coming home dead. And that there was your silent
Mm-hmm.
majority, and that Nixon picked up on that and realized, the American people, the silent majority, want this to be over because nobody had any reason why their own children were being killed. It wasn't like World War II. We're fighting the Nazis. We're fighting Tojo. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
what are we fighting for in Vietnam? And nobody had a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I
anyway,
remember back in
slight disagreement.
mhm. Carl?
Yeah, still here.
Hello?
You there?
Oh,
Hello?
okay. I thought I lost connection.
No, you're
Yeah,
there.
yeah. No, that's cool. I remember back in 2001 when shortly after 9/11 they had actually who was God, who was it forget who was the defense the God, who was it under Bush
Defense Secretary?
but anyway
Shit.
yeah the Secretary of War, I think. Who was that?
Secretary of Defense.
Was,
Defense.
yeah, Secretary. Who was the
Damn. I don't
That's
know.
well. Anyway,
Yeah.
they had talked. What was interesting was they had talked about. Um, everybody thought that the draft was going to be reinstated,
Oh shit,
right?
shit. What's his name? The asshole. Fuck. Why can't I remember his name either? The guy with the glasses. The guy SNL used to always make fun
He's a
of.
neocon. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
neocon.
total neocon dumb
Um,
shit, piece of shit. Yeah, because his plan was to go in with half the men that Powell went into Iraq, into Kuwait with in 1991, to go in half those men for 3 times the territory, and it was a freaking
mhm.
disaster. Fuck. Uh, Somebody look up his name. Rumsfeld. Thank you. Thank you.
Rumsfeld. Yeah, yeah.
What the
He
f is it to you? Thank you very much. Yeah, Donald Rumsfeld, complete asshole, complete idiot. He had this new. He wanted to prove that U.S. Army could be a lighter, faster, more mobile force and get the job done. So Powell went in with over
Yeah.
400,000 troops, and the mission was pretty much to kick the Iraqis out of Kuwait back in '91. 400,000 men, overwhelming
Mhm.
force. Rumsfeld, who's pretty much going to be occupying an entire country, says we can do it with 180,000 men. And of course, what happened is they get up there, they couldn't occupy the country, they couldn't even protect the armories where all the ammunition and the guns, and
Mhm.
they would be able to guard one end of it. And have you ever seen an armory? If you drive through like Hawthorne, Nevada, or a few other places, those things are more than just a couple of sheds. It's like so they'd have enough troops to guard one end, and then they get a report people are stealing from the other end. They drive over there, and then while they're driving over there, people go to the other side. All your IEDs, all your small arms, all that munition stuff was handed over to the people, which started counterinsurgency, the insurgency rather, in Iraq. So the guy was just an
Mhm.
incompetent piece of shit. But anyway, enough about him. So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, it looked like for a while because they had actually made a I guess they worked with the Northern Alliance at that time, right? Because they were trying to kick the Taliban out of like two key state or two I'm sorry two key cities
Oh yeah, in
that were
Afghanistan.
like strategic points, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
And what happened was the U.S. actually thought that they were going to have to commit a ground force, but it turned out that the Northern Alliance was able to, kick the Taliban out of there with their support. And it's amazing that these people are riding on horseback. Remember the story of the horse soldiers?
Yeah.
They're literally using cavalry tactics against tanks, and they have those trucks with the machine guns mounted on them. It seems like they love to do that. The Taliban and all, they seem to love those. There was that thing with Toyota where Toyota was their choice of vehicle.
Yeah. No.
And
Yeah.
they seem to love to ride around with their trucks and their machine guns in the back. I mean, I guess you do what you got to make do with what you got.
Yeah.
But but what's really interesting was they what's funny, Carl. I'm sorry, I don't mean to switch the subject here, but you look at right now, like if you were to take the most elite soldiers in the world right now, and the soldiers that are most conditioned to fighting would probably be the Israeli forces because they see combat almost like, often. I mean, they see combat probably more than any other country,
Yeah.
And let's say like if you were to have, I don't know if you ever see those games, right, where, and I've seen people, they kind of mess around with them just to see like what outcomes for like those computer simulator games where they would have an army from the 40s, right, like a 1940s army, planes, and then they would create the terrain where they would have to fight in, right? And then they would have like a medieval army, right? Catapults, long-range weaponry, would be the catapults of bows and arrows, crossbows, and like they would basically like use, because remember back in the days, like when like India, China, they would have like the like I'm talking Dark Ages China, like where they would have the snake formation, the turtle formation, the different defenses that they use depending on whatever army, their opposing army, the tactics of the opposing army, right? So what they would do is like they would have like, let's say the army from the 40s would go in, right? And they're, they're looking over the mountains, looking in the trees, right? Well, all of a sudden, bam, a whole bunch of guys pelt them with arrows, right? Well, it isn't so much, people think that, well, the more advanced army should be the one to win because they have the technology, the weapon. Well, that's not true. It depends on the tactics, the terrain. Does the enemy know the terrain? The enemy knows how to fight in that terrain. they have sufficient weapons to take on the army with the technology. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, if they didn't have long range weaponry, they'd be screwed. You know,
Right.
and it's kind of like during the like the days of the Indian Wars. You know, where like you'd have to have your Indian scouts tell you about, well, why are they doing this? To report to the cavalry officers. The best way to how to fight it. Because you take your best weapons into combat. I mean, like, let's say
I know,
war
but
breaks
oh,
out,
hold on, hold on, hold
and
on. I know, hold on. But what's your point?
oh, oh. But the point that I'm getting at is, like, with any good strategy and tactic, you can overcome the most advanced army. You know what I'm saying? And it's like how do I say? But back then, the tactics that they used just to take on the Northern Alliance, they couldn't have done that without the air support, but it's really I don't know. I'm sorry. It's late. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I
It's
know I'm
okay,
rambling
man.
on.
You're good. You're good.
Um, but the point that I'm getting at is, like, any enemy can be defeated with the proper tactics, the proper weaponry, the proper knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not and it's really amazing, because back then I remember, like, you had video games like Halo was coming out, and everybody thought that, well, this is what real combat is like. Well, I'm playing Halo, and this is what real combat and how I do this and how, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's and then these people, they go to combat, and it's like, whoa, no, this ain't nothing like I thought it was. I'm really getting shot at. But it kind of but those people in Afghanistan, they've been ravaged by war for thousands and thousands of years. That they have the mentality. They have the mentality to go in, fight, do what they got to do. And it's the same thing like with the Israeli forces. But let's say if we were to go up against a large, let's say like our forces, right? I mean, we have a pretty good army, but our technology is what is our greatest strength. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I can't say that our troops would not, know how to be in combat. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not used to having that, if you don't have that psychological aspect of being in combat all the time, you might not know how to cope with it when combat is done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I know, but so you're saying
But
that if we took on a larger army, that it would come down to our technology, and if our
well,
technology was even with the other side, then it would come down to the fighting spirit and the morale of the troops, and
yeah,
whoever had the best,
yeah,
and also then of course your strategy, your tactics, and the professionalism of the leadership of in the military who's
yeah,
ever leading the fight.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. But
All
but
right.
it's yeah, I know it sounds silly the way I'm saying it. I'm sorry, Carl. I probably should have had a better explanation when I was going into all that. But it's kind of the same tactic that like, how do I say, it's kind of where, like, because we always, everybody always knew that the United States, we could never be conquered by any outside invading force. So, oh
I
wow,
know, but what's your
Fred
point?
Nelson's.
What's your point you're trying to get to with this? I understand what you're saying, but what's your point you're trying to get
Well,
to with this?
it's like how do we stay vigilant in things? You know what I'm saying? How do we stay aware of like where I don't know. I'm so, what, Carl, I probably lost myself. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I'm just gonna figure out
Oh,
where you were going. I'm like,
I'm,
okay, I got it, but
yeah,
where are we going? Where are you? What are you trying to get to? So, in other words, how do we stay vigilant? How do we keep our
no,
men on edge? How do we keep our troops savvy and high testosterone level and angry
yeah,
and toxic
yeah,
masculinity stuff? Well, that's a problem because you see with the military, you see it. People want to bring transgender into the military. You see people wanting to,
hmm
have the SJWs in the military. I think I reported on this when I first started the site. I was watching a documentary of in
hmm
Afghanistan, and they show these troops, our troops, pretty much falling apart at the seams when one of the guys gets shot, going up a hill, and the rest of the troops around him refuse to go up the hill. They say, "Well, no, there's no cover up there. We can get shot." And it's like, well, yeah, that happens in war. Like sometimes you're not going to have a tree, to run to every 2 seconds. Sometimes you have to be exposed out in the open, and yeah, possibly people are going to get shot, and possibly you might get killed. But the whole unit refused to even go after the enemy. It was pretty crazy. And then the major was like doing his best, like continuing legal education on
Um,
how to talk to people and try to be sympathetic. And he was holding his hands out a certain way, and it was totally awful. You could tell he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he was on the laptop that night talking to command, like these guys are falling apart on me. How do I bring them back? And they're trying to talk to him how to talk to people psychologically, and these guys were all
yeah.
badasses when they're sitting up there in their little forts, if you will, up on top of the mountain, shooting down 50 caliber machine guns at suspected Taliban people down in the hills below. But when they got into a real fight with the enemy up close, and one guy gets whacked, they all kind of fell to pieces. I don't know. I've never been in
Yeah.
combat. I
Yeah.
can't say that's how I would react one way or the other. But is that social conditioning? Is that is the military gotten
Yeah.
soft because they're afraid to be hard on the recruits? I don't know. All I know is it didn't look good,
Yeah.
and I'm sure whoever that major was and the lieutenants underneath them, I'm sure they didn't
Mm-hmm.
like advance to become. Well, I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they did advance to become generals, and they're sitting in the Pentagon right now. I have no idea. All I know is it didn't look good at all. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And how do we
Thank
fix
you, Carl,
that?
for
I don't
saying.
know. How do we fix that? I have no
Mhm.
idea. You got
I
people
didn't mean to
people
ramble on like that.
you get no
I'm
you got
sorry.
you got people back home here wanting to talking about toxic masculinity, how men are evil and manly things. I mean
Mhm.
that one war movie came out. I think it was called 13 Strong. It was talking about what you were talking about Afghanistan. The guys on the horses. It was the first group of guys that went over
Mhm.
to Afghanistan. It was based on a true story. And when that movie
Yeah.
came out, a lot of people were on Twitter and everywhere else saying, "Oh, great, another war movie with men, being tough." And like, "Oh, we don't need any more of those."
Mhm.
And all right, hey, Charity, have a good one, young lady. Yeah, get some sleep. And I'm glad you enjoyed the show for sure. So yeah, thanks, Charity, for coming by for sure. And we'll see you on the
Yeah.
next one, young lady. So yeah, get some
You know,
sleep.
Carl, what I'm going to start doing, and I need to get more organized because I know sometimes I don't mean to go off on a rant like I did. I'm sorry. Um, but what I'm going to start doing is I'll have more note. I'm going to have like notes and stuff more prepared, and I have got to make time to research. So I have time to listen to certain podcasts and all that, but I got to make more of an effort to talk. Because the funny thing is there's so many stories. There's so many.
Well, no,
I
no,
mean,
there
there's
are
so many different stories that.
there are too many stories. Yeah, no, I agree. No, it's hard to keep track of all of them. I try to focus on a few. That's
Oh,
just my advice would be,
mhm,
grab a few stories that like obviously immigration is a big topic here on my show. So I focus a lot on immigration
mhm,
stories. I go looking for those stories. I go looking, immigrationreform.com. I look for the Examiner. I see what they're
mhm,
covering. And I try to focus on that. Obviously, the campaign's in full swing. I'm a political science major from college. I've been following politics since I was like 7. I love politics. So yeah, the campaigns. I'm definitely going to follow that. So always just. But yeah, I mean, I can't
mhm,
cover
mhm,
everything because yeah, I mean, it was saying
mhm,
you're. It's like being a lawyer. Like you can't practice every type of law there is because then you're like
mhm.
a king of. You can be a king of a couple of areas of law, or you can be like a prince of nothing if you cover too many. So it's the same thing with
Yeah.
anything. But no,
Carl, did you hear
no,
what
no.
happened?
Go ahead. What?
Hmm. Oh no. Did you hear what happened to Mini AOC that she was receiving death threats? American Joe was talking about it, and now here's the thing. Joe brought this up, and he hit home with this. Let's see if AOC defends this little girl. Speak up for her right to be able to, express her opinions. The right of her. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
yeah. No,
it's
I mean, right. If
so far
some
we haven't
little,
heard anything.
well, you're not going to. I mean, if some little 12-year-old girl's getting
Yeah.
death threats, that's something we should all be concerned about. And even if
Oh yeah.
even if she makes a career mocking somebody, the person she's mocking should be able to be, I don't know, I was going to say man enough, but obviously you can't say that. But it's going to should be concerned enough to be able to speak out and say, hey, anybody who's making death threats against her, you better not be doing it in my name because I don't put up with that shit. I mean, I do that on this
Yeah.
site. I mean, I monitor this site pretty heavy. I don't let people get away with talking
Mhm.
stupid shit. So
Mhm.
she should be willing to do the same thing. It's not hard to do. No, whether she does or not, I have no. I doubt she will. That doesn't play into her narrative
Mhm.
because I would have to admit that, you know, um, that the left is evil. That there are people on the left who do evil
Mhm.
things like Antifa and everything else, and that's probably where it's coming from. But she depends on Antifa for her
Yeah.
support group. I mean, that's basically that's basically her support. All right, man. Hey, let me let you go, and a couple of stories I'm going to cover
Okay.
here in a second, and then I'll probably be on for just a little bit longer. So. But hey, great
Okay.
phone call as
Yeah, I'm
usual, man.
falling
Great,
asleep.
great, great. No, great,
Oh
great
yeah.
conversation as usual, man. Always.
Yeah. Are you going to be live tomorrow?
I don't know. I might go on for the fourth. I might cover depending on who
Oh
I
yes,
get,
yes.
depending on who I can get the feed from, and whose
Mhm.
audio I can run without getting a copyright hit. I may cover the
Mhm.
Trump celebration and do a live feed from that. I got to see where I can get it
Mhm.
from. Like I had to do NBC News for the meeting with Kim, and I kept the audio off on purpose. But I know I know Fox is going to be covering it. Hopefully, Fox is going to cover it on their internet site, and then I can pull it off their YouTube site. Hopefully, I can pull it off of YouTube or something. But I was thinking about
Mhm.
doing that when he goes on. I think it's 7 o'clock East Coast time. Is that what time he's going to be up there getting started?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
that'd be
believe
four.
so.
Yeah, that'd be 4 o'clock my time. So I'm going to try to see if I can time it where I can go live, and I'm going to be looking. I'll look tomorrow to see who's going to be what YouTube channels. I was thinking like the White House site would cover it. You know what I'm saying? The White House YouTube site.
Mhm.
I was thinking they would have it.
Yeah.
You never get a copyright hit on them. They love you to pull their stuff up. I mean, they're more than happy.
I think
Like, yeah,
doesn't OANN is pretty cool about that too, aren't they? I mean, I don't think. I mean,
I
I don't know. I can't
I
speak for them,
yeah,
but
I
isn't I
don't
think.
I don't know. I don't see why they would have a problem. And I mean, look, guys like us are in competition for OAN. So if anything, OAN's gonna
Yeah.
have their little logo up there. If anything, if content creators are posting OAN stuff with their little logo up there, that's just free advertising for them, and they should be more than happy to
Yeah.
let us do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Because
We'll
they're
see.
growing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they
It's
definitely
funny
are.
because like. Yeah. But Well, listen, Carl. I don't want to hold up your time anymore. But hey, it was always great talking to you. And I try to catch a show when I can.
Yeah,
I
no, it works. It works.
just but I will. You know what? Next time I call in, I will be better prepared.
Nah, you're
Because like
good.
I said, I was falling asleep when I was.
That's okay, man. You're good. All
but
right, man. All right, man. Have a good night. I'll see you in the chat.
all right, all right.
All right,
Take
bye
care.
bye.
All right,
Bye bye.
all right. Bye.
All right, now is the great dirtbag. Always a great phone call. Always a great conversation. Two great conversations tonight. And if anybody else, if anybody else wants to call in, that's fine. And the phone number is. Let me put it up here. There we go. Well, phone number is area code 775-273-8970. But let's cover this. This just came up from the Washington Times not too long ago because it wasn't up earlier. So let's take a look at this story. Warren leads in Ohio. Harris and Biden are close behind, according to a poll. Let's find out which poll it is. Make sure it's just not some kind of outlier poll. But I can see Warren doing good in Iowa. I think the message she's given to the Iowa Democrats probably dovetails nicely with their beliefs. She wants to destroy everybody. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean she wants to break up. You're talking to farmers. Farmers and banks always have had a terrible relationship. I mean, going back, you can go back 100 years on this. I mean, it's always the farmers blaming the banks, the banks blaming the farmers. I mean, so she's in Iowa. I'm sure talking her class warfare stuff, and that probably plays well to the Democrats who vote in Iowa. The nice thing about Iowa, and I've said this before, and I love Iowa for one reason. Everybody goes out to caucus. Everybody goes out to vote for the caucuses in Iowa. I mean, the weather could be. It's always miserable weather. It's in the beginning of February every year. I think it's February 3rd this year, or February. So I think it's February 3rd. I can't remember. But the weather's always miserable. It's February, and the press is always like, "Oh, we can't believe all these people came out with this terrible weather." And the people just kind of look at them like, we live here. We have to get up and go to work in the morning, and go pick up the kids from school. At night, take the kids to some kind of after school lessons or whatever. And we're driving around at night anyway, and we know how to dress for it because we do it every day. We have to go to the grocery store when we get off work. It's dark out in the winter in February. It gets dark at 5 or 4:30 or 4. So, and so they look at the press like, you people are idiots because, yeah, we're wearing long johns. We got, wool pants on. We got the nice coats on and boots, or, not just dress shoes or stuff. So, but, the nice thing about Iowa, everybody participates. It really is great because everybody goes out because they know the whole country's watching, and they'll be damned if anybody's going to stay home. I mean, I forget what the participation rate is, but it's like some huge number. And it'd be great if every state in the country did the same thing. I was a precinct captain in 2016 here in Nevada, and I remember we have a caucus in Nevada too, and we're at right after South Carolina, so we're pretty important. And we had Trump, Rubio, and Cruz were our three main people at the time. Trump was leading a little bit in Nevada at the time polling, but Cruz was pretty close up on him too. And so Rubio was doing okay. So I was trying to conduct a caucus. It was in a middle school here in Pahrump, and I was trying to conduct a real caucus, and I was giving like, okay, everybody for Rubio and Cruz and Trump. Okay, now you guys pick somebody to speak on behalf of Trump. You guys pick somebody to speak on behalf of Rubio. You guys get somebody to speak on behalf of Cruz. I think I got through the Trump person. I was starting on the Cruz person, and like this old guy in the back of the room yelled, "Just hand out the goddamn ballots." And I'm like, "Oh, well, you don't want to caucus? No, I want to go home." I'm like, "Well, shit." And then a couple of older people, I thought it was like they were gonna all be like charging at me with their walkers, like let us go home, it's like some South Park episode, like I was closing down the Pancake House or something. They were angry. It was like an angry mob was forming in the back of the classroom, and they were attacking me with their walkers and their canes, and it was getting pretty nasty. So I said, okay, fine. So I quick passed out the ballots, to save a riot from going on, an age riot. You young whippersnapper and your rockin' and roll and your 8-track stereos, you don't know what this is about. I know who I'm going to vote for, and. Anyway, it got pretty nasty. So, hey, Fred, have a good night, man. Happy 4th, and wait, are you saying good night, or, oh, no, Rocky's saying good night. Well, anyway, good night, Rocky. have a great one, man. But anyway, so Warren leads in Iowa. Harris, Biden close according to a poll. Let's find out. Okay, so by the Washington Times, Senator Elizabeth Warren has risen to the top of the 2020 Democratic presidential field in Iowa, with Kamala Harris and former VP Biden close behind, according to a survey released Wednesday. I know, but who wrote it? Warren had the support of 20%, likely Democratic caucus goers, followed by Harris at 18 and Biden with 17. Oh, Harris skips over Biden. According to David, that's pretty big because that's Iowa. Biden should have Iowa pretty much wrapped up, and he's now in 3rd place. According to the David Binder research poll conducted for the group focused on rural America. Sanders was next at 12%, followed by Mayor Pete, Buttigieg 10, Klobuchar 4, Booker 2, idiot. No other candidate top 1%. In March, Biden had led at 25%, followed by Sanders 17, Harris 9, Warren 8, Booker 7, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Beto all had been at 6. At 22% for support, Harris led the way among respondents who said they watched all or some of the debates last week, and was followed by Warren at 20%. Among those who didn't watch but tracked coverage afterward, Warren led the way at 23%, followed by Biden, then Harris. Among people who didn't watch and heard little or nothing about the debates, Biden led with 25%. Oh, yeah, and those people who didn't watch the debate said, oh, yeah, I like Biden, because they didn't see him at the debate. The survey of 600 registered voters, okay, yeah, it wasn't a big sample, so you'll see the margin of error is 4%. That's pretty high. Well, because you had a small sample, 600 people. Yeah, I don't know how scientific this one is. Anyway, yeah. Well, okay, I'm not sure how good that poll is. Yeah, I'll just say it right now. I mean, you have a margin error of 4%. I mean, that's I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, what the hell are you supposed to do with that? I mean, I don't know. What are you supposed to do with 4% margin error on a poll? But whatever. But anyway, anybody wants to call in, number is 775-273-8970. All right, Mr. Great Dirtbag, have a great one, and yeah, you have a great fourth. And yeah, I'm going to see about trying to cover um the Trump Fourth of July celebration tomorrow. I'm going to try to see who I can get a feed on. I got the audio set up, ready to go on it. So hopefully Fox has their YouTube channel set up to do it, or the White House actually will maybe does a live feed on it, and I can tie into that. Again, the White House and Fox, they never have a problem with you content with us content creators, putting it on, especially the White House. I mean, it's like, yeah, they're like, hey, you know, please. They're like, the more watching, the better. And it should be a lot of fun. So it looks like I think I saw it was supposed to start at 7 o'clock East Coast time, and that'd be 4 o'clock my time, which actually works well for me tomorrow if we go on at 4. And by 4 o'clock, I should have everything researched as far as who I'm going to get, do a couple of test runs on it, and make sure I'm all good to go here. So if I do go on tomorrow, it'll be just a little bit before everything gets started, just so I get everything queued up, test the audio, everything like that. Maybe take a couple of phone calls ahead of time, and then as they come on, we can just kind of enjoy the show, provide a little commentary, then maybe do a little commentary afterwards. And maybe they'll show some of the protesters. That'd be kind of cool. Some of the idiots out there, this is terrible. Trump's, politicizing the 4th of July. It's like, hey, idiots, the 4th of July by its very nature was political. It was called the Declaration of Independence. That was one of the most highly political charged documents ever written. If you don't believe me, read it. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I mean, they had a list of grievances. I mean, it wasn't just, everybody remembers the first paragraph, but everybody kind of skips over the rest of it and get to the end where everybody signed it. But yeah, read that. It's a very political document in of itself. So they sit there and say, well, gee, politicizing the 4th of July. Well, yeah, it's because that was called politics. That's how, politics was politics was politics. It didn't just start in, like, 2016. So yeah, so anyway, I'll see if I can get that all put together. So yeah, so if I do come on, it'll probably be sometime on or around near when they start this. Depending, maybe they might even have some other people showing some stuff ahead of time. A parade or something. But yeah, just look for me. I'll post it up on my community post. If you're a subscriber, you should get it. And then I'll post. I'll probably post the live thing like an hour, at least an hour early, or, well, probably a few hours early, saying, okay, I'm coming on live at this time, and check it out. It'll be pretty fun over here. We don't have like gazillions of people in the chat room, so everybody can kind of communicate to everybody. I have a delay in the chat room. The slow mode is on, as you see. If you're a moderator, that doesn't affect you at all. That's just to keep spam trolls from coming on the site and causing mischief and mayhem. So, that kind of thing. But anyway, guys, I tell you what, I'm going to go and wrap it up for tonight. So I want to thank everybody who's been in the chat tonight, everybody who's been viewing us, and everybody who'll be viewing us later. And I want to thank Effie Loves America and the Great Dirtbag for 2 great conversations, 2 great phone calls. And yeah, we'll be going on tomorrow, and I'll just be getting everything put together to make sure we can go live and we can actually watch the July 4th celebration together. That'd be kind of cool. But anyway, for Carl's Opinion, this is Carl. Thank you, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.